Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today with episode 254, technically 255. We'll get to that in a second, of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it's me, Karak with ACG. Why is it?
All right.
Why
So, as I explained to you earlier, we have the Persona 5 Royal spoiler cast recorded with a couple buddies of mine, as well as myself. And originally, I was going to tell Karak, like, hey, this week, don't worry about it. Thank God I waited till Friday, because we do have some significant news to cover today. We are going to be taking a look at the PlayStation 5 reveal event, and we just wanted to dedicate this episode entirely to talking about this event, what may be there, what we hope to see there, what we imagine will safely be there, and just go all in on that, because outside of a couple of smaller pieces, I personally felt that this was the most significant bit of news, and it would be the most interesting for you to listen to. And by the time you are listening to it, it won't be too far from the event, so it might be exciting for you guys to get some more predictions. But we're still going to keep our standard intro. As always, we are supported over on Patreon by you fine listeners. For just $1, you get early access. I personally just surpassed 200 patrons on my personal platform, so I just want to thank you guys so much for that, because that is an insanely high number, that more than I ever personally expected for people to sign up. So hopefully I can continue to make it worth your while. I will continue to try my best. But on top of that, you guys can hop into the Discord. You can ask questions, which we will use on this show. We will still be doing that in this episode, so fret not. But anyway, Karak, you also have a Patreon.
Yes,
anything
indeed.
going on over there?
We finally did start up the D&D game. We're doing UFC this weekend, I think, Saturday. Tomorrow. Well, tomorrow we're doing online board games in the group, and then we're doing UFC, where we just sit down and watch it together. And other than that, Patron right now is just getting stuff ready for the rewards for the end of the month, which sort of takes longer than I expected. Especially when you get anywhere more than 25 patrons, and some have physical stuff and you have to pack it and all that stuff. So I usually take one full day. So that'll be fun to do.
That's gotta be a lot. How many do you usually do?
75 things on first week, and then about 55 things second week, and then the third week is whatever remains, because not everybody wants physical stuff, which is nice. So if somebody wants a avatar or something like that, that's easy. And then a lot of people forego it, but sometimes you'll just you think, oh, it's not too bad, I'm in pretty good shape, and then you look at the number and you're like, oh shit. And for us, with isolation, you can't go to the you can't go to the US, you can't go to basically the mail place and bring all your stuff and stand there in a line. So we have to sort of parse it out differently than we used to.
What kind of look do you get when you walk in the post office with how many trips you got to go back and forth from your car?
Probably a 10, but it's not as bad as when I did before I did YouTube. Right before I did YouTube, I did the Kickstarter where I made my own fantasy bicycle card deck, and we had 30,000 orders. That was a successful Kickstarter, really successful. Yeah, and so, dude,
wow,
it was insanity. It was we would go. It was sort of fun as a couple thing. My wife and I would go, and we'd have 500 orders that night, and you would just go to the machine, and we would just talk, and we would enter in somebody's address. 30,000.
Wow.
Now you can hire a company.
You guys had a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Well, me, dude, I'll figure something to talk about. But you can hire a company and say, you do this, here's our sheet. But we didn't want, we were trying to not go bankrupt. Which, by the way,
Makes
Kickstarters
sense.
are rough, man. I was not prepared.
Did you underestimate it?
Oh, fuck yeah! And I'm a dumbass, just like Patron. I'm I'll build you an arc. For $100, come into my Patreon and I'll build you a fucking, because I just don't think it'll be that difficult. And we went in there, and I built people personalized deck boxes. So you'd open it, there was felt inside with my 2 card decks. Oh, Jesus, dude. It was ridiculous. But, I'm an energetic person, so it was just every night making 4 boxes, putting fucking things in. It was sort of fun for me.
Good to look back on, probably.
Yeah, it's a good memory to have, but not one I'd probably want to live through right away again.
All right. Well, that's very interesting. See, I didn't know that. We learn something about you every show.
I thought we had talked about that card game.
You told me about a Kickstarter, right? I didn't know what it was specifically on.
Yeah, it was for a D&D game that we built, and we just liked the art, so I made like a fantasy card deck. So like the king looked like a magic user, that kind of stuff. You know?
Gotcha. What are you playing? I saw like Maneater. You played the Aftermath DLC, I think. Anything else?
Yep.
Or because I wanted to ask you about Maneater the week I had to do it solo. Is that as good as you had hoped it was?
I mean, Maneater, it was good, but it was repetitive after a while, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of it that I think maybe even other people might not have, because I'm a Zen. I can deal with a Zen game, and so you can sort of swim around and explore different like locales. I thought that was great fun, but in the end, I said wait, because I was just like, it just started to get repetitive. The idea of it's awesome though. See, that's the thing. I could see somebody buying it, be totally happy. And then like, yeah, I did Mortal Kombat Aftermath, which I think is overpriced, which is the rating I gave it, which was like, wait. But it was cool to return to Mortal Kombat. I do have to say, I do like Injustice way more now that I played more of Mortal Kombat, but it was fun to return to it, get all the new look at all the new characters, jump back in and do all that. And then
I noticed that watching your review, I noticed like how many cool, in my opinion, cool characters they had added to the game, like the Joker, RoboCop. Even though he didn't look that fun to play, Spawn, that wind guy. Who the hell is that? Because you did some move in your video where I was like, what the fuck?
Dude,
like you just spin kicked someone in the air.
It's so funny because you get these two guys, you get three people. You get Shiva, who was in one of the Mortal Kombats prior. I can't remember which, but I don't mind her. And she was fun. She has a lot of combos, 4 arms. She should. She was fun. And then you get RoboCop, who looks cool, but I should have known. Is like Jax plays a big robotic character much better. RoboCop just is too boring. His moves are boring. It's like left, right, left, and you're like, that's not really fun. Fucking this guy shows up, and I said it in the review, it's like an Armani in a dollar store. Like, he shows up, and the first thing he does is fucking levitates in, and you're like, wait. Like, it's like AAA or a game I'd make. That's the difference in level. No lie. He shows up, and he's just like, sup, bitches? And then Liu Kang says something like, what's it like living in Raiden's shadow? And he's all, probably the same it would be like living in Liu Kang's shadow or something like that. And they're just back. He's like, his one-liners are barbed. It's really good. It's all done well. And then his fighting style's fucking awesome. At first, I was like, I don't really like him. I couldn't figure out some of his stuff. But he has some weird things that have not been done in Mortal Kombat. Like, he has the ability to airwalk, which it's hard to describe until you play him. He has some awesome combos. He is a blast to play. Unfortunately, that's the problem, Maddie. I finally figured out, I think, why I dislike Mortal Kombat more than Injustice. The costumes feel fake. Everybody is just 85 palette swaps. Every costume. Right. There's like basically 6 costumes maybe, and then 10 colors for each one. Where with Injustice, I felt you had all types of armors and fucking shoulder pads.
I get what you're saying.
I really was let down by him in particular, because I got a couple of his things and I was like, oh, seriously? And then, you're able to preview everything he gets, and there was no desire. Like, there was no like, oh, cool. His sword looked cool. That was awesome. But his fighting style, regardless of all that, was ace. Dude, shit, fucking hilariously fun to play. Yeah. Where the others, Shiva was fine, but RoboCop was a turd. He was a turd. And he's my favorite guy. Yeah. Did you play Terminator? Did you ever play Mortal Kombat when Terminator had been released?
I have not gone back to that game since launch, which is kind of sad because I raved about it, and I don't regret what I said. I really liked that game. I think it was just a hard drive space thing. What happened was I had an external hard drive with a terabyte of games on it. It got corrupted, lost everything. So now I'm just using the base PS4 hard drive, and I have to be very selective of what games I have on there. The reason I didn't, for those who are wondering, get another external hard drive is because I already have one, but I use that for my videos. When I'm going to and from the studio, I need to be able to take my work with me, so that's like my work one. And when you look at presumably what the new consoles, well, not even presumably, what we know the new consoles will have in the terms of extra memory space right now, I will down the line, but right now I don't think I need another external hard drive. So yeah, I had to leave that one out. And I have just have this rotation. It sucks because games are so big now. So
Right.
having like Smite with all of its updates and then like 4 other games, it's just like, oh, all right, this is my rotation for a little bit until I want to play something else.
It's very easy to just never think of reinstalling it because it also has to re-download, and your brain's like, well, I can re-download it, maybe I'll do it, and then it's easier to not replay it if it's not available.
That's why physical's best, baby.
Yeah.
Just throw the disc in, call it a day.
And then I've been playing a lot of role-playing, a ton of D&D. But that's it for me. What about you?
All right, so this was the week I finally started my little nostalgia trip. I've been talking about this with you, I think, since like November. Like that, I just want to go back and play PS2 games. Once I finished Persona 5 Royal, I came up with this big project idea that I pitched to a couple of my friends, and I've been chipping away on that. So that's been absorbing a lot of my free time. And because right now we're in that entering E3 hype, I put E3 in quotes because it's not existent, but like that stage of the summer where it's hype for announcements, like we got this PlayStation event. I was like, all right, we don't really have a game to base the channel around, so I'm just going to play what I want. Like, now is the time. And I'm usually hesitant to do so because I don't want to fall behind. But, like, for example, I put in my request for The Last of Us Part 2 reviews. I heard back, but then, like, didn't get a copy. So I don't know how that's going to work out. So as it stands, I have nothing current to play probably until The Last of Us Part 2 comes out. So I decided to go back and play some PS2 games with my brother. Nothing of significance that I think anyone could really latch onto that's worth talking about. Like, we played Madden 04, the old NCAA football games, like Tiger Woods PGA Tour 04. These were games that we all grew up with and that we played the most. I used to be a beast at Tiger Woods 04. But I think one that I really would want to talk about is, have you ever played the Mega Man Battle Network series on the Game Boy?
Yes, that's actually one of the very few Mega Man games I played. Those are the card ones, right?
Yeah, where you have like the battle chips and stuff.
Yep, or battle chips. Yep, I did play those.
Yeah. What a wonderful game. I'm playing the first one right now. I'm trying to, like I've been saying a lot on my channel, I'm trying to up my physical game collection. I feel like I was very negligent of that. I've always been someone who's like, I got to hold on to my physical copies. But in that moment where you're low on funds and you need a new game, or not need a new game, but you want to cover a new game or you want to play a new game, you're like, all right, I'm just going to cycle these out. And eventually it just becomes a domino effect and suddenly most of your physical collection is gone. So I've been trying to build out, starting off with, childhood relics. I already had like a decent PS2 collection, but when it came to my Game Boy, this was the first game I thought of. Not Pokemon, not like, I think Fire Emblem was one. Like, I just instantly Mega Man Battle Network. This was for me like one of the most defining games for my Game Boy Advance experience. Like you said, it's pretty much like a card game, but it's an action RPG at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's a lot like, this is a little niche for some people, but it's a lot like Dot Hack, where you find yourself blending the real world with this digital world, and then there's a threat in the digital world which then can hurt the real world. And it's very much like a game for, I wouldn't say for kids. I feel like young adults can appreciate it, especially its gameplay. It's very deep, but it's storytelling. Like the first story beat is that there are viruses that are causing people's ovens to spontaneously combust. And some guy's like in your house working on your oven to make sure it doesn't set on fire. He leaves and it fucking sets on fire. And you're like, oh, gee, I wonder who did that. And so you have to like actually go into your oven with your Mega Man EXE. Right. He's, for those who don't know, in Battle Network, Mega Man's not like a Reploid where he's running around. He's actually a program. So he goes into your oven and you fight Fireman. So for those who have played like the Mega Man stages, like each boss is a stage: Iceman, Fireman, Cutman, and so on. So it's a really interesting take on Mega Man. But for a 2001 game, man, it's actually aged really well. And I was surprised by that. There have been some games I've gone back to even like 10 years ago where I'm just like, I like this, but I know I don't like this as much as when I was a kid. This is one where I'm very surprised how much it's aged well in its gameplay. It's very unique. There's nothing really like it. Not only because it's Mega Man, but that card system, we kind of see flares of that in Slay the Spire, or Monster Train is one that seems to be gaining traction. But this is one of the first pseudo card game action RPGs that I think I ever played, and that was really out there at the time. That works extremely well. So highly recommended. Right now it's only available on the Game Boy Advance. and they're not super cheap. I mean, if you get them as a loose copy, just the cartridge, you'll be fine. But if you're getting complete in box, they are pretty expensive. I hope one day they do the whole collection on Switch or something. That would be a real treat. And they've packaged up Mega Man X, and Mega Man Zero. So I imagine Capcom's probably looking into that at some point in time. At least fingers crossed. That would be amazing. But yeah, that's basically the bulk of what I've been playing. I have a bunch of Platinum games downloaded because, like I said, my hard drive space is now limited. So I just go in bulk. And I have the Wonderful 101 Remastered, which was sent to me by Platinum themselves, which I was very surprised by. And I also have Vanquish. And so I do plan on, since those games are short, I do plan on beating those within the next couple of weeks and talking about them more. But for now, those are downloaded.
So I played that. I think I played it when it was originally at Mega Man, but I'm sort of a big fan of those kind of games, like where it's a mix of like collectible card game and this or this and this. I'm sort of a fan of that
cross.
Have you ever played the PS? This is PS1 or 2. Again, I wasn't huge into Sony at the time. There's a game that I'm telling you, dude, it's why I have the system. It's called Concept.
That sounds familiar.
So it's a. Just let me make sure I'm not pronouncing, because I fucked this up. Concept. Okay, so this game, dude, they're fantastic, by the way. What this is, it's called COD. Oh, and it was also 360. It's called Concept Saga. So this is basically, imagine a generic Monopoly where you're going around a board, but the board can change shape. It can be a figure eight. It can be, and it's all colors to match terrains, like red for lava, blue for water, brown for land, something else. And when you land, you have cards in your hand, and you can put monsters down. And then when a person lands, they have to fight your monster with whatever monsters are in their hand. But of course, if they put their monster on water and they're a water monster, they get a plus. And then as your monsters do better, they level up, and you just keep going around until someone kills the other person. And I'm telling you, dude, it's so fucking good. You should check the 360, because it may be backwards compatible. I don't know. But I am telling you, that is one of the most phenomenal games I've ever played. And it reminds me of those games where it mixes two things. And I love that kind of stuff, man. I love that. And I liked it about Mega Man, too, because I wasn't a big Game Boy Advance fan either. I had a couple Pokemon. And I had that. But I had it not because I liked Mega Man. I had it because I thought the card, or the chip. Yeah. I thought they were cards. I couldn't even remember. It's been that long. And I still have that game, by the way. I'm sure because I didn't get rid of. Yeah, I didn't get rid of my Advance. I even have the old magnifier that you'd put on the screen. Oh, yeah. Dude, mine looked like a transformer, Matty, when I was done, because I had like the light.
Yeah, the light with the little curly.
Yeah. Dude, because when I got into it, I hadn't owned one for a while. I was middle generation. So like when I got in, there were all these other fancy things. But yeah, that was a great game. It was a very, very cool game, and different. Yeah, different from.
I gotta look into that. Yeah, there's. It's so wonderful how many, like, we cover games, but there's still so many hidden gems. Like, there's this one, I don't remember the name. Someone will probably let me know in the comments down below. It's this game on the 360, and I'm pretty sure it's like a World War II vampire game where it's the gameplay is like Valkyria Chronicles. I forgot what it is, or it's like World War II anime. I don't think vampires. I think it's just World War II anime, but it's not Valkyria Chronicles. It's something I think that starts with a V. And my buddy Vinny had introduced me to it, and he's always like, then like, oh, I'll lend it to you. But I just always forget to take him up on it. But that was one. Is it
Operation Darkness? I bet you it is.
That sounds right.
So Operation Darkness, yeah. And there's a couple in it, but yeah, it's basically SAS, World War II, and dark creatures like vampires and werewolves in Valkyria Chronicles. Yeah, dude, you should check it out. By the way, I have beat that game. I had to look it up because I was like, I'm pretty sure I know exactly what he's talking about. The game is awesome, man. Yeah, it's crazy. We can be talking about like any of these systems. This is the problem we're in right now too. Like, it's getting harder sometimes. Dude, how many times have you done a review? Maybe not review. Well, yeah. I've done a review on a smaller game, and people will be like, what the fuck is this game? Like, I've no... And that zeitgeist we used to have, like even your Fallout, because that's how you started your channel, or not started, but how your channel got big was Fallout.
Pretty much started. Yeah.
It's like and we'll talk about this in a bit, but everything's fighting for that attention now. Everything. It's all overlapping, which is weird.
Yeah. I got that a lot with my Plague Tale review when I did that. That was a game.
Oh, really? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
I mean, I'm glad I was able to show so many people, because on one hand you're like, what? But on the other hand you're like, okay, good. At least they were like, this looks interesting, just whether by the thumbnail or what they saw in the little preview when you hover over it, and clicked on it, which is great. But yeah, that's one where I thought, with not Remedy, Focus behind things, usually they're like the AA that has a lot of attention, so it was kind of surprising to see that much of that. But anyway, that's what we're playing, that's what we've been up to, and now let's get into PlayStation 5's reveal. So this has been rumored for a stupid long time. Jason Schreier and Jeff Grubb have both said multiple times that it's sometime in early June, but things were subject to change, of course, with the ongoing pandemic. They could not, solidify a date. Now we have the official announcement from PlayStation. They posted a tweet saying, join us Thursday, June 4th, at 1 a.m. Pacific time, or I'm sorry, 1 p.m., not 1 a.m., 1 p.m. Pacific time for a look at the future of gaming on PlayStation 5. And we're going to go ahead and just read through the PlayStation blog real quick, and then we'll go over some articles, our predictions. Like I said, this is a full-on PlayStation episode, so get cozy, get your speculation goggles on. Let's get into this. With each generation from the first PlayStation to PlayStation 4, we aim higher and we push the boundaries further to try and deliver better experiences for our community. This has been the mission of PlayStation's brand for more than 25 years, a mission I have been part of nearly since the beginning. There are a few things as exciting as the launch of a new console. While the road to this launch has been a bit different, we are thrilled as ever to bring you with us, on this journey to redefine the future of video games. We've shared technical specifications and shown you the new DualSense wireless controller. But what is a launch without games? That's why I'm excited to share with you. We will soon give you a first look at the games you'll be playing after PlayStation 5 launches this holiday. So they are still solidifying this holiday. The games coming to PS5 represent the best in the industry from innovative studios that span the globe. Studios both larger and smaller, those newer and those more established, all have been hard at work at developing games that will showcase the potential of the hardware. This digital showcase will run for a bit more than an hour, that surprised me. And for the first time, we will all be together virtually experiencing the excitement together. A lack of physical events has given us an amazing opportunity to think differently and bring you on this journey with us, and hopefully closer than ever before. This is part of our series of PS5 updates, emphasis on that series, and rest assured, after next week's showcase, we still have much to share with you. Once again, we're going to state the time and date just so everyone knows. Please join us on Twitch or YouTube on June 4th at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. BST, 10 p.m. EST to see what's in store for the next generation of games. I hope we can make you proud. All right, Karak, where do we begin? Are you excited? How about that? Little check-in there.
Yeah, I mean, excited as much as, what would the term be? I just would like to see some stuff. I guess. I'm done with all of this. I just want to see some shit. So to me, it's more, I'd want to see, we'll talk about what we should do is break it up, because we haven't talked about how we're going to do this. Should we break it up into what we are almost 100% sure we'll see, what we hope to see, and then what we would love to see but probably won't, or something?
Yeah, I feel like we should start
so
with,
we don't bounce.
Yeah, what we will probably see. Yeah, we'll start off with that, because I feel like that'll feed into articles and stuff that we can both pull up over the course of the conversation. Okay. So we'll do that. See, ladies and gentlemen, we don't really plan this show out, and that's why it's so good. All right,
it's more enjoyable.
I think so too. Yeah, I think there's a lot of rigid shows out there, and I understand there's a bit of professionalism attached to that, and I think we run a good show here. But at the same time, I think people like our free flow takes. We're well versed in our topics, at least, except for when we talked about Pokemon that one time. I don't think we did a great job there, but
were people?
I digress.
I don't remember that.
No, that was a while ago. We got some
it?
shit wrong, but
Whoops.
it's not the end. Not the end of the world. We confronted it. We did a good job.
Some pokey punks. That's what we'll call them. Fans who are angry, we'll call them pokey punks. Some pokey punks were all over us.
Let's start with you, man. What do you think we will more than definitely see? Yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn 2.
I agree with that. That would have been my first call as well. I think that is 100% happening. It's been just long enough.
Yeah.
You think it's a launch title?
I should clarify a couple things. Most of what I'm going to talk about or be excited about would be Sony only, because they're going to show a ton of third-party stuff. That was actually what caused this to move, was third-party companies pulled out of the Sony event to do their later ones, including Ubisoft. So we know this will be. The stuff I'm really excited for is stuff that'll only be on theirs. We'll talk about the other stuff. I'm just saying, to be clear, and then also to be clear, I never have seen in the history of ever these events hold all the dates for all the games, ever. It's never happened. So they'll be like, it's day and date, and then it'll be delayed. So I don't know if I even want to guess. I hope it's day and date. I'm looking at the time span, though, and then new tech, and then looking at them trying to take advantage of the new tech in ways to where Sony's going to say this is only available on next gen, because if they try to say it's only available on PS5, that's a technical discussion.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I don't know because if it's day and date, then I don't think it'll be as advanced as I want it to be. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want a 3 or 4 year, maybe 4 or 5 year, delay here. So I don't know. I won't answer that. I don't know if it'll be launch day, but I think that'll for sure be shown, and will be stunning, by the way.
Yeah.
Stunning.
Yeah. I wonder if the Frozen Wilds played a factor in how far along they are, because they could be ready if it didn't really play a big factor. Because
how many years
could be ready?
Well, Frozen was 17, right? No, wait. See, okay, so that's the problem, Matty. If Frozen was 17, that only gives them 2 years. Well, yeah, they could be. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they could be. It's just really hard to tell.
Yeah.
This was released November 7th of 2017. They called it an expansion, which
Frozen Lands, Frozen Wilds.
Yeah.
God, that was good too. Fuck.
I never played that. I feel like if they confirm it, I'll have to get to that.
What do you think? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, just reintroduce myself to the series. What were you saying?
I was going to say, what do you think? Let's talk about that game for a second. Is there any special? It showed robots and Tron, and I think or sci-fi, and that's why it worked. Do you see them trying to do a genre thing so that people buy into it, or do you see them doing something else like co-op? To where what would be its heated fucking? Oh man, not just it's a sequel. What's the old man thing?
I feel, and I'm going with the co-op front just because that also was the rumor, the co-op or multiplayer. If you could take that core formula and evolve it where now you have bigger, we'll call them robots to fight, and you could take them down with your friends, and it becomes not only Horizon, which had a very interesting universe, but also a Monster Hunter game almost. Because it already had the combat where you're picking apart weaknesses, you're using different arrows, and you're targeting certain weak spots. It already has that in its DNA. So to evolve that to a much larger scale would be the inclusion of friends, I feel, and turning like having a multiplayer mode called Hunts. I feel that would be the spin. With that series, I guess another thing that would really make me go, oh, wow, this is an evolution, is if they took their dialogue choices seriously. In the beginning, they're like, if you do this, people will react to you in a certain way, and you can throw a rock at those people who are bothering Aloy, and you're thinking wow, I have agency over how people react to me. But once the game opens up after the first hour, that type of shit does not matter at all.
Right.
And I'm open to being corrected on that, but nothing I saw in that game suggested that how I chose my dialogue.
It wasn't a reactionary world.
Yeah. Now, I'm not looking for drastic choice and consequence, like it has to be an RPG, but if you're going to tell me that in the front of the game, I'm going to expect that the whole way through. So I think that would be another thing. I guess that would be keeping a promise more than actually evolving things, but I think that would be an improvement for sure. But yeah, it's really just evolving for me, more so that than changing things drastically. Do you have something in mind that would need to be a drastic change for them to warrant the sequel?
No, I just believe that most companies do go with a. Okay, so this is a company that hinged everything not on open world third person, because we had seen millions of them. They hinged it on robots and laser guns, dinosaurs and laser guns, and like explosions, the future and the past mixed together. I was just saying, I wonder if they're going to try to hit that. Because there's got to be, I just don't see most companies doing a sequel and saying, it's more of the same. I just don't see it. So multiplayer co-op is one thing. I also firmly believe that there will be a huge change in location. And there was a game that was discussed without its name, where they were talking about a little bit about what you were discussing, but there was almost a Darklands, Dark Zone kind of thing, where people were going to hunt and people thought it was Monster Hunter.
Oh.
But I was like, if you had a multiplayer where maybe you had your single player full game in a location and then, you could join up with other hunters. However, I don't know if I'd want that, because I would almost rather have a co-op multiplayer where it's the entire world we can play together. Like, imagine two siblings and that's who you play. Alexis or Alexios and what's her name in Odyssey?
Oh, Cassandra.
But at the same time, I would love that. So I would almost rather have them contain it still in the very concrete single player, make the decisions make sense, like you said, and then instead of true multiplayer, do a co-op where that really matters. Because I think we're just not getting those a lot.
That'd be really interesting. Yeah, two things. That'd be really interesting if they did some type of dark zone, kind of like the Division in Horizon, where you do just go on hunts with other people. That would be really interesting to see how they could handle that. That'd be a cool idea. I'm for that. The other thing is, I think, speaking of Horizon having multiplayer, I feel like we could expect more multiplayer to be included in these games, because now we have more power to work with, which can allow for more people on screen and can maybe allow for more network connectivity during these larger games, where I feel like the PS4 and Xbox One you're either a full, because they had a decent amount of power, but it was like you're either a full-on single-player game just sucking up all the juice for that, or you are a multiplayer game, right? Like we saw a real spike in these free-to-play multiplayer games, or games just going all in on like their battle royale, we'll say. We saw like a lot of that, just basing your game around one concept. I think because of the increase in power, at least based on what I've seen, you could probably make the argument that you're going to start to see a shift towards the middle, like you saw in 2012, 2013, where games are doing their single player and their multiplayer, because they probably have more opportunity to work with things and maybe see something take off instead of just doing the single player game. I think if they're trying to include a multiplayer mode, we'll say, in Horizon, then they probably wanted to do that in the first place, and they didn't have the power to do so. And I feel like there's probably a lot of companies that said, here's a good way to get players to go together and play something. That doesn't mean it would end up turning out good, but I'm sure that there's a lot of companies out there, like even probably fucking Greedfall. I'm sure they even Spiders was like, oh, how can we do multiplayer? Like I'm sure that crosses every table. So I feel like we'll see that a little bit more. I wouldn't be too surprised.
No, I wouldn't be either. I do think that the big changes won't be any third party, because those guys are going to want their games to work on everything. Sony also just now announced that basically PS4 and PS5 do need to work together, which is sort of opposite what they said before. But yesterday there was that announcement where they have told developers, now you need to make sure that like your PS4 game works on a PS5, blah, blah, blah. We all knew that was going to happen, but Sony was pretending it wasn't. It was like, no, it's not the way like this is going to work. So what you will have is a lot of third-party companies who will want the most copies on all systems sold. They will not adjust too much. There just won't be the ability. They'll adjust for PC and the new ones, but it'll be in the adjustments we expect, graphics, physics, all that. Yeah. But then they'll still want it to work on your PS4 and your Xbox, because you can't sell that many PS4s and then just say, sorry. But with these first-party companies like Horizon, they could do something interesting like this. I just don't know. Their big claim to fame was there was three claims to fame for them. Well, two. There was their theme, which was the dinosaurs and stuff, but there was also their weather system, which they just would not stop talking about it. And I was thinking about that a couple days ago. I'm like, one of the things we don't see right now, and this might be from a gameplay standpoint, we don't see the world change. And there's reasons for that. A lot of developers will be like, dude, how do you play test for, let's say, an avalanche having happened and now you can't get to where you need to go, but the person's not done with that, But I would like to see, and I think these guys might try to do a lava land. They might try to do a desert in Horizon, because those are different environments, which was so big to them. Hey, look at our rain. Our clouds actually go over the land, all this stuff they talked about. I'm just thinking what they thought was a big deal in Horizon. I also loved in Horizon when you climb the fucking tall necks. Were they called tall necks?
Yeah. I think long necks or something.
Long necks.
Long neck a meme. I don't know.
Long necks probably a meme, but it might have been this too. But you climb to the top, and that's your waypoint. That's your tower. Your Ubisoft tower was doing that. I just have this, just knowing game devs.
It was a tall neck.
I just know game devs, and I know they're probably going, what's our new version of towers? Like a turtle that moves around, and you have to fucking, so I'm expecting some familiar and I think the lack of familiar, or the new thing could definitely be co-op. I think that would be the safe bet, because I think most people probably would have loved to have played that game co-op. Like, that's a game where it's just like, oh my God, it was awesome. But imagine if both of us,
like, if you lend your imagination a little bit, because I thought it was great on its own, but like, if you really do think, a lot of games could go that route. I just hope that it doesn't become like 2012, 2013, where they get so carried away. They're like, everything must have multiplayer. As we continue on with some game predictions, I thought that this little snippet from a gamesindustry.biz article would be important to point out. So let's read it. One way to keep PS4 users engaged would be to make upcoming PS5 games playable on the older machine, just like Microsoft is proposing with its Xbox Series X games being playable on Xbox One. Yet Ryan of PlayStation says that's not something PlayStation is interested in doing. Quote, "We have always said that we believe in generations. We believe that when you go to all the trouble of creating a next-gen console, that it should include features and benefits that the previous generation does not include. And that, in our view, people should make games that can make the most of those features," end quote. It continues on. "We do believe in generations, and whether it's the DualSense controller, whether it's 3D audio, whether it's multiple ways that the SSD can be used, we are thinking that it is time to give the PlayStation community something new, something different that can really only be enjoyed on PS5. End quote there. So with that in mind, as we move into our predictions, we were talking about, hopefully if Horizon is shown off, this is exclusive. Do you have any other games that come to mind that would be exclusive to the PS5 that would be ready now? And also, what do you make of that quote where at first they were sort of on the same page as Xbox, going like, yeah, we're going to be making sure things are backwards compatible and working. Now he's like saying, we're actually going to make sure that this offers exclusivity right off the rip, which...
I mean,
I got to be honest. Yeah, I got to be honest. I personally, that excites me more when I'm buying a new system, because I agree with that philosophy. If it ends up being true, I agree with the idea that, if I'm buying this shiny new piece of hardware, I don't want a game that could run on the Xbox One. It is smarter business sense. It's better for the consumer. Don't get me wrong. I think a lot of people will be going with Xbox this fall. Just because of that mantra there. Like, it's already decided, because they get more value out of it off the bat. I should say that the opposite way. Maybe more people avoiding the Xbox because of that. And so I think PlayStation might be doing a little counterplay here, and at the right time when they're going to show their cards with some of their games. But sorry, you said that you don't really believe that. Why is that the case?
Well, first, like 8 hours ago, they told Eurogamer that now all PS4 games have to run on PS5 and that there has to be cross-compatibility. That was 8 hours ago. Like, these guys cannot get their fucking shit in a bunch. Additionally, the developers I've talked to are like, no. First of all, never in the history of ever, we discussed this in the podcast prior, has any generation ever had a game ever, other than online connectivity, not be possible on the prior system. It has never happened. That is completely pushed upon us by PR people. So what I mean by that is, if you get an Xbox One game, there is not a single Xbox One game that could not have been put on an Xbox. There is no hardware in there that stops that, other than internet connectivity if there's no modem in the prior console. So what is being pushed is PR bullshit.
We're talking off the bat, right? Just to make sure I'm still following you.
We're talking off the bat. Well,
Gotcha.
Actually, technically, when it comes to fully able to be done, there's a reason why backwards compatibility and why like PCs allow for games to be turned up and down, because there is no actual hardware that stops something from being able to be played. The thing that what Jim is trying to do is sell people he's trying to sell people on he's lying.
He's doing his job.
He's doing his job. I don't hold anything against him, but never in the history of ever has some hardware come out where you're like, that is impossible to do, because there's a caveat there. It is possible to do. It's just, what are you going to accept as a restriction? And what has been in the past is graphics, draw distance, blah, blah, blah. What they need to do is make you believe that something is impossible. And I do believe that's possible. As in, they will make you believe, they will fool somebody who's not technically proficient into believing that something is impossible somewhere else. If that were the case, you would have PC games where we'd be like, well, this is impossible on last year's PC, which it is not. The only thing that's ever happened is instruction sets sometimes on like an Intel processor. They'll get a new instruction set, and that instruction set will no longer be supported on the new piece or on the new games. Like somebody be like, we're not back supporting this, it's too old.
Gotcha.
But when it comes to consoles, you've had internet connectivity. Saturn started it. They had their netband. You plugged it in. It was cartridge plugged into your phone. It'd dial. You could play Duke Nukem, which I did. It worked. So internet, that's a real thing, Matty. Like, that's a thing. I can't force my Game Boy Advance to like connect to you via a cable that's not there. Like, you can't physically do that. So what Jim is saying really is that he wants people to believe that whatever they're seeing is incapable of being done. And that has to be done in a way that isn't just graphics, because you're going to have the argument or the discussion you and I are having, which is that you could do it. It just wouldn't have as many polygons. That's what interests me, though, because what interests me is how are they going to do that? Where Microsoft is saying, why would we want to do that? Like, so they do have differing ideals, but even Jim's own developers are like, no, that's not what we're doing. There will be a first-party developer that will do something that the SSD on the Microsoft systems or Sony system just wouldn't perform. It wouldn't be performant. It would.
That's what I was going to ask you. When you say
that will happen,
possible, like it's possible for,
with caveats.
We'll say like Bloodborne to run on PS3, but it would have to lower a lot of things, like
400p.
Is that what you were saying that whole time? Kind of suggesting like it is possible. It's just going to be a worse version.
Right. And what I'm saying is that in the history of all consoles, that we've always been sold this every time, dude. I'm so done with it. I've lived since the Sega Master System, and every time they say this is impossible on the prior hardware, this is impossible. Any developer will tell you it's flatly not only not impossible. We have modders right now that are making premier games run on older systems, and that's the joke. We've got Doom running on ASCII, and we've got Doom running on LCD keyboards, by the way. Like, people are just hacking older systems. It's the amount of work and the caveats. But there have been a couple times, like I said, or for example, the Kinect, by the way, bear with me here. The Kinect was an interface that was not, it literally had there is no other interface like a Kinect. So it comes out, that does offer something that you can't just say, we can just do. VR is also a platform that cannot just be mimicked. You have some caveats there. You could say, well, the 2D version of it could be mimicked. But to get back on topic, I think Jim is doing exactly what he should do. He's trying to differentiate, but he's unfortunately differentiating by he's casting into a pool and pretending there's only trout, and there's about 500 other fish in there. The trout are PS1 or PS5 exclusives where they're going to do everything they can to make it look different. However, how many of those are coming out? When are they coming out? And is that true or not? Because there's nothing on the PS4 that I've ever seen that made me say that is physically impossible with caveats to run on the PS3. Ever.
Really?
And no one has. No one has. Because there isn't anything. You could get it to run. He's trying to tell you that's impossible. Phil Spencer will try to tell you that's impossible.
It would be like an inferior version. It would be my argument. Like I could get Bloodborne on my PS3, but it would be like I think there was one part in that game that was not technically profound. I think it was
on which game?
Bloodborne. I think it was like right in the beginning when you walk into that town square and like there's a fire and there's a ton of NPCs walking around. And like it can get very choppy there.
Oh, frame rate wise?
In the early days. And like I think to myself, well, if that was on the PS3, I would expect it to be even worse. It could just be an optimization thing because the game just ran fine.
No, it would be worse. But he's not saying that, Matty. You're saying that. He's trying to pretend it will be impossible. And
you're talking about possibility versus just
generalization of caveats.
This looks better. I got you. Okay.
Yeah, and what I want to see, Matty, I want to see them. Because I think they'll try to fool you, and I'm okay with that. What I want to see and what I'm excited for is the fooling and what they do, because those are the magic hours, man. When Peter Molyneux says Fable 1 will allow you to plant a fucking seed and grow a tree, right? It never happened. He said that was going to happen in Fable 1. Do you know why so many people still hate him? Because he wanted that in there. And they legitimately couldn't put it in because there was no power to even do something like that. There wasn't even enough memory. Those kind of things are the dream moments. I want to see that. I want to see the dream moments. I think you and I talking about co-op in Horizon Zero Dawn is far more realistic, though, is what I'm saying.
Right.
It's more realistic for us to discuss that than it is. And I don't mean I don't want to discuss it. I'm just saying what he says. I don't care because they all try to sell you their thing, and it's never turned out to be true, ever. I mean, has it? I don't think it has. I guess that's just me. Maybe I'm just being pessimistic, but like,
if I'm honest, I can't say I'm in like full agreement with you, but I get what you're saying. Like, I get your standpoint.
But do you have a time where you were like, this is hardware wise, it's impossible?
No, because I guess it's my perspective is like, I don't look at it as a possibility versus impossible. It's more along the lines of what I was saying earlier, where I will have that moment where it chops up on the PS4 or it skips on the Xbox and you go for a moment, imagine if this was on an older system. I don't think that means it's forgivable or by any stretch. I don't want people to think that's how I just view every single bug I ever encounter. But I guess just in this discussion, that would be my thought process is...
I agree with you, though.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
I
think we agree. I just take his word and I'm like, he's the PR guy and I fucking hate liars. Dude, I've been sold so many bills. Maybe you got to get old like me, dude. Give yourself another 12 years, 15 years, and you'll look back on this shit and be like, mother.
You were like saying like, oh, maybe I'm pessimistic. Trust me, there are certain things that happen where I just, I feel the pessimism setting in. Like I'll get like a big news thing that normally like 3 years ago would like people would send my way in mass and now it's like a little bit less and I'll see it and go, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
I
try to not be, but it just...
No, I don't think it's a bad thing by any means. I don't want you to feel bad about it either because,
I think it's just him and head people. Head people
suck. Yeah.
Head people suck. And I don't even think they suck. They have to say shit that sucks. Like, imagine being in that job, Matty, and you're just like...
I would rather not.
I would rather not. Yeah, it made my heart go... Because I would fail at it. But talking about good stuff,
the face of critique.
Yeah, talking about good stuff. One thing I do want to talk about that we will see is I think we'll see more on the controller. And I actually sound stupid. I want to see like why
the change in brand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the DualShock versus DualSense. That's what I'm most curious about.
Like, what are we going to get from it?
Death. Yeah. I like between the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers, I think they called it. I just hope it's not like because you were talking about PR. For me, I hate when they.
Yeah. No.
My biggest pet peeve with PR is taking a thing that is very small and acting like it's the biggest friggin' deal. Like, if we see The Last of Us Part 2 running on the PS5, which we may, and we start to see Ellie pull back the bow, and they're like, right here, you can see that the adaptive triggers are in effect as our player can feel the true resistance of the bow and arrow. I'm like, stop. Like, I'm probably going to think about it for a second. Then, like most controllers, the features become naturally ingrained in the game, like vibration. It's hard to imagine, but vibration wasn't a thing back on the PS1 until, I think, the PS2. That's why, was it the PS1? But
no,
that's why they came up with the name.
That's why they came up in mid-gen with the new. Yep.
Yeah, dual shock, because it double shock in your hands.
It's double shock, yeah.
So, yeah, man, I don't, maybe I'm different, but I just don't get like super hyped about like the tech stuff, the controllers. Do you have any other games that have come to mind, or shall I pitch
for
one?
Sure. So after Horizon, let's talk. We're talking about what we'll probably see. I'll wait for this for the next category. Go ahead for what we'll probably see.
I think we will probably see a new Ratchet and Clank game. This is no secret. Nothing. No one told me this directly, even though I do work with him. But Colin Moriarty had said on his PlayStation Focus podcast that he's had it on good authority that like a new Ratchet and Clank game is coming, and he's kind of reiterated it multiple times. Where I imagine he's still consistently hearing it. So I trust him. If you choose not to trust him, that's your choice. I just I would be very shocked if after the 2016 entry, which was successful and fucking good. I beat that shit 3 times. Like, that was amazing. A good game, man. Platinum trophy and all. I'd be very shocked if just because Spider-Man was so successful that they put all their eggs in one basket. I think they wanted to let Spider-Man marinate for a little bit and then focus on Ratchet and Clank. I mean, that was, that's like an original PlayStation thing. I think they're smart by moving to Ratchet and Clank next. Some people may not want that, but we have to remember Marvel owns Spider-Man, and if Marvel becomes upset with PlayStation, that's their decision if they want the game to continue. Whereas with Ratchet, that is PlayStation and Insomniac. Like, that's an easier relationship to manage, I feel. So I think that they're smart to continue with Ratchet and Clank and not just go all in on what was one of the best-selling PlayStation exclusives. Last I heard it was like 15 million copies, and I'm sure it's well above that.
Really?
Yeah, with a Spider-Man, not Ratchet.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. Imagine Ratchet. Oh my God.
I was like, why are we not at number 16 right now? Okay.
Yeah, but I would love to see more from that. What do you think? We'll kind of keep this format, I guess. What do you think Ratchet could add in PS5? That's one thing that when I played the remake on PS4, it was just like, oh, this is better looking, a little more particle effects. What do you think a PS5 could do to make Ratchet and Clank go to a next level? I hesitate to say the same thing again, but I think multiplayer, but I want to hear what you think.
Yeah, multiplayer, but I mean, it's known for weapons, right? So to me, there would be, so one of the biggest issues with a lot of current gen is you run out of, unless it's set up for this, when, like, let's say you're geosculpting or you're removing the ground dynamically, because then you may have to come back to it. Imagine weapons that, like, can do crazy stuff. Now, we did see this an old game called Armed and Dangerous. Did you ever play that game? There's a game called Armed and Dangerous that when you fire, it flips the world upside down and enemies fall into the sky. Dude.
Wow.
Next level. So imagine weapons like that, crazy stuff. World altering like weapons, I think. And I don't mean altering like destroying the entire world, but I mean things that adjust the geometry and all that kind of stuff. I could absolutely see there. Also, I think, unfortunately, especially now that I'm seeing more of Beyond Good and Evil 2 and how world-spanning that is, I do unfortunately feel that even these smaller level-based games like Ratchet and Clank, we're going to start seeing much larger, or like they're going to feel like larger worlds, even if you can't explore them.
That.
Yeah, so I could see something where it's like, I don't know how they would go about it, but, moving from place to place, like making it feel like a bigger overall world, and being able to interact with that. I could see multiplayer, of course, if you wanted to.
I never thought of like the bigger levels. That would definitely make more sense to me. I think that exploration,
almost like a Mario 64 kind of.
Yeah. I also oddly thought of like Jedi Fallen Order. Just you go to all these different spots, but they're like fully explorable, and there's things that you can come back to later when you get certain gadgets, which is a big part of the Ratchet and Clank franchise. I would really like to see that. In answer to our question about the sales, this was in 2016. Ratchet and Clank PS4 breaks franchise sales records. It was a big hit. Insomniac announced on the PlayStation blog that the new Ratchet and Clank game for the PS4 is the fastest-selling entry in the series. There really aren't any official numbers. There was a post on Reset Era that Ratchet and Clank PS4 was Insomniac's most successful game ever, but I don't know if that's actually legitimate or not. But anyway, it seems that the game did very well, and certainly well enough to justify a sequel if it was the best selling in the franchise. So yeah, I think bigger locations is definitely one. More guns. Yeah, more. I think that's the name of the game for Ratchet and Clank. Do you have any more games that come to mind that you think is a guarantee, or should we move into the...
For sure, first party. Yeah, I do, but I don't know the IP owner. But doesn't Sony own Crash Bandicoot?
That's a good one. That's been rumored for a while.
And I just feel like some of these... Hey, so the system hasn't even been slotted for very long, as in the developers knowing what they're getting. So certain art styles we will see prominent. We'll probably most likely see some cartoony stuff that's big, and we'll see high detailed stuff that's smaller, like a GTA, or a GT, which I'm sure we could mention Gran Turismo. I absolutely think Gran Turismo will be there, because racing has always allowed companies to say, "Look at us, this is our racing game," and they're good graphical. But to me, I would love to see a Crash Bandicoot, but it wouldn't be. I have a feeling it would be, again, like a Mario 64, huge. Like, that just seems to me like what a lot of these companies are going to do, because they did it with the Xbox and PS4 when they got 8 gigs of RAM. I remember every single dev I talked to was like, dude, do you realize what 8 gigs of RAM can do? We can actually do open world when we've wanted to. Not just because it's big, but that's what we've wanted to for a while. I could see Ratchet and Clank doing that. I just don't know who owns the IP, but I feel like a couple cartoony mascot games might actually be, Ratchet and Clank, and maybe they don't want to compete against themselves. Now that I think about it, because that would be competing in a weird way.
If I saw Ratchet and Crash come back in the same conference and they had no Sly Cooper, I would flip a table, just because.
Do they own Sly Cooper?
Sucker Punch does, and that's one of their first-party studios, but they're working on Ghost of Tsushima. See, what's weird is I've never seen a more drastic transformation in a company, but Sanzaru, the people who made Sly 4, they made that, and you're thinking, like, oh, they're going to continue the future of the Sly franchise. Like, there you go. And then they went and made, like, the biggest VR RPG. What was it? Something's Wrath. Asgard's Wrath.
Asgard's Wrath,
yeah. That game was awesome.
Yeah, I played it. It is very good, but it just dawned on me, you could, I think Sony, I don't think they'll show VR, but maybe they show VR and sudden,
Oh, PSVR 2. Yeah, that was a thing that's been talked about. I feel like...
the rumor was that they hold off for a while so that people aren't buying both, but,
I feel like that could be something that's possible, because in the terms of the VR space, the PSVR is, like, really successful because of its low cost entry compared to a Rift S.
Anything.
Literally anything out there. HP announced a new one. I think it's more of like a in-betweener, but it's still more expensive. So that's a good idea. Yeah, I think we could expect to see more of that. But I wonder how, like, if this is the time to talk about VR, or I think they're just going to focus on, unless it's like a component, like they expect it to be a foreseeable piece of the future for their console. I do wonder how much they would want to dedicate time to that, or if they just want to go like games.
I think they, if anything, they'll be like timeline 2000 2020 winter is PS5. Let COVID and the financial issues just not stress people out to try to get both things. Because, dude, this is another thing people don't realize. This has been put off so many times. And it's been put off mostly due to viruses and the inability for people to get together and companies to decide when they're going to release and games being delayed. So I think something like that, you don't want to hit the economy and say, because the economy is in the worst shape it's been in since the Depression. So the idea of saying, hey, man, buy a PS5 and PS5
PSVR.
Right. So instead say 2021, and you can always push that even farther if you want. Say 2021, our initiative, but right now we're talking just I think that would be most likely. But what I was saying is those companies, maybe that's what maybe some companies are. Maybe we'll see some VR games, not the hardware being sold day and date, but maybe a game or two. Ratchet and Clank could be awesome. I don't know how many mascot games they want, but I think right now in the current environment, nice and happy mascot games actually is what I have no issue with that.
Yeah, I agree.
I have none. I would be all over that if they were like, got 3 huge IPs of this kind. I'd be like, okay, great. Man. I'll play them all.
It's about to be a really busy June. When you look at this, there's that Guerrilla Collective where I know we're going to see Baldur's Gate 3, and then there's that New Game Plus Expo where like Sega's going to be there. I think Sega said that they're going to have like what was defined as a industry shifting announcement. Which who the hell knows what that means with Sega? That because everyone immediately is like Dreamcast 2, which I don't know. Would that be smart of them? I know that's off topic, but just I wanted to get your 2 cents on that. Like, imagine they did a Dreamcast 2. I know it's purely speculative, but
it is, and I don't think that'll happen. But if it did, I honestly do not think it would in any way, shape, or form be what people expect. I honestly believe it would be a handheld like Switch. I really do. I do not think that would be. I do not know how consoles are being. PS5 and Xbox get away with saying we're almost as powerful as PCs, but will cost less. This is probably the last gen because you have cloud on the horizon, and then you have phones and you have mobile. There's not a lot of places to go. I could see Dreamcast 2 or whatever being a mixture of some things, but you can't sell into power. Currently, nobody's got enough money. Sony and Microsoft don't even have enough. I mean, look at how hard they're fighting. Like Microsoft is basically hinging on Game Pass. Sony's fucking hinging on a ton of first-party studios. These guys are like, well, Sony's Microsoft now. So you've got all this money. Dreamcast wouldn't be able to compete with that. But you know what they would be able to do? They know Nintendo is not doing a no mobile. They've been very clear. They're like, like this is halfway through its life. What if Dreamcast 2 is just like a very profoundly powerful mobile device? And
that's not a bad idea, dude.
No, I would. I mean, you know me. I'm always like, and I want more power in my mobile. Fuck, man. What if it was like wirelessly put your dongle into the fucking, system, wirelessly 5K to your fucking system without needing a, like there's some tech there that they could do. I don't think they are. I'm just guessing. But
yeah,
I don't think it's going to be a big thing. Do you? I mean, I saw it. I don't know if you know this. Sega didn't say that.
No,
or at least a Japanese company that investigates rumors
Famitsu.
Stated,
Famitsu said
that it was a huge deal. Sony, or so maybe it is. Maybe it's something. Maybe they sold some IPs.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see when that news breaks. We'll see that. I think next week. I think it's supposed to be the same day as this PS5 event.
Can you tell me what this Commando thing is? I don't know what this is. You called it Commando. You said there's a Commando event or something.
Oh, Gorilla.
Oh, sorry, Commando.
You were on like the right war track.
Yeah, I was on the. It's always about war.
It's called Guerrilla Collective, and it seems more like a AA indie showcase digital event. But like I said, Baldur's Gate 3, Larian just confirmed that they'll be there showing that off, which is pretty exciting. So imagine if they're there, you're going to find more companies within that echelon.
Yeah,
it's interesting watching Microsoft and PlayStation battle it out, because we've heard that Microsoft, when July happens, when their reveal event happens, that everyone's going to be there. Like, they're going to have every studio, ready or not, showing something. And then you've got PlayStation, which is focused on showing the now. And I just find their scopes so completely different. It's actually kind of funny because you have one company that's saying, we bought all these companies. I shouldn't say companies a million times. We have this one Microsoft who's saying, look at all the studios we've purchased and take a look at what they are working on for the foreseeable future. Like, they're going to probably show off what Obsidian's doing next. That's what I've been told. But yeah, at the same time, you know, they just released the Outer Worlds, and Obsidian's a small team, and they were just acquired by Microsoft in, I think, like 2018, like late 2018. So it's not like anything's ready for them. Same thing with In Exile. They are releasing Wasteland 3, and I don't know if they're showing anything off, but, you know, Microsoft's putting it all on the table for now and the future. But do you think PlayStation is going to end up doing that, or are they just going to show what's close?
I think they're both lying a little bit, and that like Sony will have some delays, and not lying only, just shit happens. So they'll say it's now, and then some stuff will get delayed, and then the stuff that they just don't have the time to show, we'll see. And you know, you and I, here's the thing, dude. You and I might talk about 15 games a week at max together on a podcast. At max, because that's actually a lot of games to really get down to. Well, there's like, what, 40 minimum 50 big games a month, you know, and I call them big. I don't mean just AAA, but AA, some big games on Steam, a couple games here and there. So we're going to miss some of these that'll turn out to be awesome. Biomutant's still out there, which looks awesome. God, yeah. Beyond Good and Evil for Ubisoft. Ubisoft's got other stuff that I'm hearing about. We'll, you know, possibly maybe see. So you have all this stuff. So to me, I think they're just doing what they've always done, because every single time they've released a different track, Sony said, oh, Microsoft's got hardware that's awesome with the Xbox original, but they don't have games, which that's fair. Xbox 360 was like, we've got games, and Sony was like, oh yeah, no worries, now we've got power. And they just sort of alternate. And then Microsoft was like, hey man, you're going to be able to fucking have online all the time, and, you know, have your family play games. And Sony's like, you get to own all your games. All they really do is just bounce off each other. Trade blows. So to me, I feel that in the end they bounce off each other, but since they're going towards the same overall group, the only one who does something different is Nintendo, who is completely on a different track. These two guys are sort of still selling. Remember, what they're trying to sell you is a console that will make you believe it's more powerful than a PC. That's their end desire, is to sell you something. And but they're selling to the same group. So I don't really see too much different. I do feel that both of them are worried about fall, because they were like, there's been no issues to production, but every production group is like, there's issues with production because 3 months were missed. You can't magically, it doesn't work. You and I know this. Like, let's say you don't upload when you're supposed to. You can upload a great video the next week, but you will never get last week's numbers back. They're gone. You just have to eat them, right? So sadly, Sony and Microsoft can be like, it doesn't affect us at all. Microsoft has been a little bit more open and said some stuff has been impacted, but they have been impacted. The actual groups have stated so. So I don't know. Do you really believe both will release this fall?
I'm still on the fence about PlayStation. I really am. Yeah. I know a lot of people are going to call me crazy because they just announced a reveal event, and I'm not trying to like die on a sword here. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't really care. But I just find it strange they've waited so long, and they've done a drip feed of information. They even, mind you, admit in the blog that they've kind of been slow to the draw on this. They're like, we know this has been a bit ... different. I'm like, you don't say. Even on a normal year, you waited really long. So I don't know, man.
Or prices being what we don't expect, maybe.
Yeah,
it feels like we're waiting for a surprise you and I aren't going to like.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think prices. I'm actually not too concerned about price.
You're not too concerned about
I have it in the 500s for both. You know, and if they're more than that, we'll see. Because I think people are going to have to break down what's inside the system.
Yeah.
And if it's less than, which, you know, I know Xbox already said they're not doing this, but I really think they should look into their monthly payment package deals for new consoles. We already know, though.
No, Microsoft is doing that, you mean?
Oh, they are doing that.
Microsoft already has it. You can already do it right now. You can
for the
literally.
Series X?
Yeah, for the Series X
wow.
pre-order
Okay,
went
I
up,
apologize.
and the original Xbox X you can literally already do, and you can do their Ultimate
great.
package, which is live and a console.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, I'm glad I'm wrong about that. With PlayStation though, I get this feeling like there'll be a little more this time around. I don't know why. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Xbox was $450 and PlayStation was $500. I get that feeling. Like, yeah, it's gonna be a small difference, but I don't know, something about it.
Who do you think? What he calls it first? Like, because I have a feeling Microsoft is just gonna. They've got the coffers. I just have this weird feeling Microsoft's like, fuck you, man. We're not playing this game anymore. We're just gonna wait till you say the price. And Sony is like, we'll wait till you say the price.
Oh, and Microsoft has to have people on the inside. The fact that they picked fucking July for their event, like they're like, we're planting ourselves right here at the finish line, and you are so going weird. In June, like it or not. And that's what I was like, okay, like Sony's gonna have to say it first, but they did say this is in a series of announcements. So, man, maybe they just don't say the price.
You and I are holding our wallets at the store, like not knowing what the price will be until it's.
I don't get the idea of let's show probably the console itself. Let's show games for it, but not tell you how much you're going to have to pay for the things that may be exciting you during this 1 hour showcase. That just I can't attach any sense to that. I really can't. So I hope that PlayStation at least gives us a price. You know, but the thing is, if you show us the price of the system, you got to show us what the console is, what the console does, like everything about the console, because now we need to know what we're buying. Like, it's a chain reaction. So if they're just focusing on games, and this is just their game showcase before they do a console showcase, then I'm like, how long's the console showcase going to be? Like, because you already had Mark Cerny bore people to tears before this, and that's no offense to him, but let's be honest. So that's what I'm saying, and they're telling us it's around an hour, a bit over an hour. I guess it also depends how many games they have. So I'm jumping all over the place at this point.
No, it all makes sense, and it's a good point for like what we will see versus what we may see versus what we wish we were going to see but won't at this event, because an hour also, we absolutely know it won't be an hour of solid trailers. It's going to be people talking because it's Sony. True. They've literally, and any company would do that. And then what's first party versus third. As well.
Yeah,
like,
I think with third party will definitely see Call of Duty. I think that's a shoo-in. I think that's like a guarantee there.
We have rumors on that one, right? Or as in on where it's based or what it's based. And I thought somebody in your Discord.
Oh, the Call of Duty game itself. Sorry, I thought you meant about it being at PlayStation.
No,
it's supposed to be Black Ops Cold War is what it's called, apparently.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that is what they said.
Yeah.
Any others that you can think of that we? Oh, GT. Gran Turismo. I do want to say. I just want to reiterate. It will be there. That will be there.
I wish I was excited about that. Not to be a dick.
Well, but... yeah, I'm not either. But it will be.
I don't think there's anything else.
Fighting games. Like third party.
I'm trying to think of those, like, you know how like Persona is, like people look at the PlayStation exclusive lineup and they go like, oh, Spider-Man, God of War, da 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 da. But you got like a standout like Persona, which is and has always been a PlayStation exclusive, but like no one views it in that way. And I'm trying to think like, are those other like second party companies?
Even though it's on everything.
Yeah, Tekken's on everything.
Soul Calibur, nope, that's on everything. Okay.
How could we have forgot? Yeah, wow. I was about to say the same thing.
Oh, were you? Yeah, because they're for sure doing something. So
yeah, absolutely, they're going to be there. I'm dying to know what they're doing because the rumors about them have been crazy. Yeah, the rumor was that Blue Point was working at first on Demon's Souls, and then it was Legacy of Kain. I'd never played that, but I watched some gameplay. That looked interesting, kind of like God of War almost. It had a little more personality, though, than the original God of Wars, I felt. And then after that, there was Legend of Dragoon. Had you ever played that game?
I have not played that game, no.
It looks interesting. It looks really interesting. Like, definitely, I think it was a Square Enix game, but it was definitely inspired by the likes of like Final Fantasy VII. It's a PS1 game. So it'd be really neat to see that remade. Out of everything on that list, it was either Demon Souls or Legend of Dragoon. And then the recent rumor, which popped up on 4chan, and a couple of sites covered it, but I don't know why they gave it any oxygen, but still it's worth talking about, is this Jak and Daxter re-trilogy. And apparently that was going to be like either a remastered from the collection that I think Blue Point did back in like 2011, 2013, where they re-released all the Jak and Daxter games on PS3. But I don't know why they do that when you can buy the PS2 classics on PS4 now, unless they're remaking them, hence the name Re-Trilogy. But that's such a bad name. I'm usually not one to be like, oh, what a stupid name for a game, but Re-Trilogy might be one of the dumbest names for a game.
I just played Saints Row the Third, so.
That's
fucking
fair.
Stupid
name. Anyway, that's been the rumor for Blue Point. Out of what I've listed there, finally our speculation seems it will come to a close when we see whatever PlayStation showing off. What would you want to see out of those listed?
Dark Souls stuff. Or what is Demon Souls?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Demon Souls, I agree. That's the one Souls game I'm just trash at. I suck at that game.
I probably, that would have been the first one, right? That was the Sony first one.
Yeah.
Okay, so was I. Not only that, I actually dislike it immensely. I think there was more issues with combat in that, and then they've gotten, it's gotten progressively better. But also, I think,
Sorry, I'm choking on my water.
It's all right. Didn't they also do Shadow of Colossus remake?
Yeah, in 2018.
So I could see them being given also the ability to make another one of those, I don't know what you call them. Sony's pretty good. Some indie companies do it well, but Sony's pretty good at like selling these solitary, you don't know what's going on in the world. Death Stranding, right? I think is one. Even Demon Souls, when it starts out, you're like, it's all solitary and there's always a melancholy to a lot of their titles. And Last Guardian, very melancholy. So I could see them also being given the reins to make a new thing. And that could also be a really cool indicator of power of the new systems too. Because it's like Last Guardian was about climbing things. It's like, what do we see? What worlds can people build? With more polygon budget and faster SSDs and stuff. That would be cool.
I thought one of the coolest things I saw, because Blue Point's known for their ports, for remastering, and in the case of Shadow of the Colossus, remaking, and they've done a good job through and through, where they've earned a positive reputation. I think one of the cooler stories I've seen with remakes and remasters was the Sly Collection. I'm going to use Sanzaru again. They actually remastered the Sly trilogy on PS3 so they could study the games like intimately to see how they were made in preparation to continue the series. And I thought that was actually awesome. And so I like paying attention to what they've worked on in the past might give us also a clue. But I agree. I feel like after this, they might just go do their own thing. I think that would behoove them because I've never seen. Have you really seen a company who does historically like remakes, ports, remasters, and people are hyped for their game? I really can't think of it.
I have behind the scenes, like at the one time Iron Galaxy, they were known. They got more known because of Batman not being a good port, and there was one other game, but they also did Killing. What's the Microsoft fighter? Killing Instinct. I believe they also did Killer Instinct. But they were sort of known, but it was sort of a little bit more behind the scenes, where these guys most likely, just because of what they've rebuilt or remastered, have been more of the classical Sony titles. But yeah, usually they're not known. Usually they're basically a company behind the scenes. But we're not going to talk about it in depth today. But I'm playing BioShock, Borderlands, and XCOM on the Switch. And the company, one of the companies that does the translations for those, just recently stated, we now know the Switch so well we can translate any current gen game onto the Switch. And the only reason they're known now is because of the last couple games they've done. So that's sort of how they become known, is by doing, bad in Iron Galaxy's sense or good in their sense. So I don't know of a lot.
Good point. Yeah, I didn't think of those other ones.
Did you try those real quick?
All right.
Before have you got any of those Switch games?
On the Switch?
Yeah, the XCOM.
No, it seems like everyone on my timeline got those shits for free. But
I bought them.
I want to buy BioShock.
Gotcha.
I really do. That one to me was the most exciting. Just as I said, as I'm expanding the collection, I'm just trying to decide, like, do I spend this on like 4 older games, 3 older games,
right? Or
do I get this collection of games that I do already own right now?
Totally
I would
fair.
have it on the Switch. So yeah, it's one of those things where I'm trying to be a little more smart and less impulsive. I'm usually not an impulsive guy at all, but sometimes with games it can be a little tempting. So I'm trying to exercise self-control. I think that's pretty much when it comes to accurate predictions, what we've got so far, unless there's more you wanted to add on. But
I'm sure somebody's going to have 10 like that will forget.
Yeah, of course.
But those are the ones that I'll just say are in my they hit my head when we talk about.
Do you want to touch on off the wall guesses?
Yes.
All right, cool.
It's not off the wall, but I just really want to see a new Spider-Man. I mean, I guess it's not going to happen now that we sort of know what else they're working on, now that I think about it. But I just really liked Spider-Man. I mean, I don't have any other way
I don't
to
blame
say it.
you.
Like, it's just,
yeah.
If they were like,
I wouldn't be shocked if they did like a little trailer after Ratchet and Clank, kind of like how Bethesda, when they did 76, they're like, Starfield's coming, Elder Scrolls is coming. Yeah, just to say, because I feel like some people will, let's be honest, as much as I love Ratchet and Clank, I think that Spider-Man's way more popular.
Yeah.
And I think PlayStation is aware, hey, if people know Spider-Man is going to be on the PS5, like a brand new game, like some people might just preemptively buy it. That was a super popular game, and it was great, so it was deserved. But I'm sure they're aware of that. I wouldn't be too surprised if they actually did take that route and say, like, let's announce both. Like a teaser trailer, just a web Spider-Man 2 coming soon, or it's coming.
Yep.
Yeah, just something like that.
Or just says only
I really
on
think
PS5.
go a long way.
I mean, let's be honest. Like, that's all you have to do. You don't even have to say when.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, only on PS5. People be like, all right.
Yeah, literally don't have to do much. I would like to see. This is totally off the walls and has nothing to do with PlayStation, but my viewing of my PS2 catalog reminded me. I would really love to see like a Midway collection. I know they did one time, but I'm talking about like they have NHL Hits, they have NFL Street, MLB Slugfest. Those games, like, even if you were, because as a kid growing up, I know this sounds ironic, I'm wearing a football shirt, but as a kid growing up, I did not like sports. So those games were my way of enjoying sports, where it was this mixture of like arcade and actual real life sports. Like there was big head mode. If you got enough hits, your character would be on fire. Like they'd come up to the plate steaming, and if you got that next hit, they'd set up on fire, and like everything became easier. There was this mix of like arcade, and you would like have a baseball game in Atlantis as one of the stadiums. Like that type of shit I thought was so cool. I would love to see a collection of those games, just as like a little random announcement. The reason I say that is because if you told me last year that, hey, when the next Nintendo Direct is going to have Star Wars Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast, and Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy announced as ports during its show, I would have been like, what the fuck? No,
right.
Like that doesn't match up at all. So I don't want to rule out any like, whoa, that's something I didn't see coming. Do you have any like that come to mind?
Well, like side ones, the problem with Sony's IPs is like they do have a lot, and they have a tendency to shutter them, and then you just always keep saying, oh man, it'd be cool if, and you never get them.
True.
Because I don't know who owns, for example, Demolition Derby. PS2 Demolition Derby, is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called. Which would be like an arcade game. I like some of their old arcade stuff. I think they own the rights to. See, this is where it gets difficult, because Sony had a tendency to buy a lot of exclusives, and so it's easy to think it was theirs, but it was actually like a different company's. But looking back at old games, dude, Toshinden. I don't think it would. I don't even know if they own. I don't even know who owns Toshinden.
That's PS1, right?
Yeah, PS1. Because
Yeah.
I'm a
Oh,
fighter
man. I
fan,
remember
and
that
I would
game.
love to see a new fighter because, I mean, Mortal Kombat, it is injustice. It's what it is. Virtual Fighter doesn't seem to be sort of
I
light
feel
the
like
world
we're
on
in a
fire.
rhythm with fighting games, though. I agree
But
with
they're
you.
2D. Sorry, I'm a 3D
Yeah.
freak. So
That's why I love Tekken 7.
yeah, like
I
stuff
really,
like that. I like.
I love Tekken 7. I know it has heinous microtransactions, but Dead or Alive 6 as a fighter,
Oh, Dead or Alive.
that game did not get an
Yeah.
that game did not get.
Oh,
enough
I
love.
know.
I'm sorry.
I know.
It's so
They
good.
could be
just-
on. I honestly believe. I don't know because people who are smarter than me would be able to identify why it couldn't be on like premier tours. But dude, as a fighting game, there was a lot to be said about that title.
I agree, man. And those tutorials were insane. I couldn't believe it. That game is awesome.
felt
I like
sweet.
it as a fighter. It really did, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to buy it. Just go look up gameplay of Dead or Alive 6 and listen to some of the sound effects that, like, when someone lands an attack and like hits you against a car, it's very visceral while feeling arcadey. It's wonderful. I've always liked Dead or Alive since Dead or Alive 3. I got a good one, but I don't know how feasible it is. What if Hades came to consoles? The Supergiant Games title?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Just because when you look at Pyre, I think that was exclusive to the PS4. Transistor definitely was. And then Bastion was on consoles for a while. So I was wondering, what about Hades? I mean, that's been stuck on the Epic Games Store for a while, and
Yeah.
it just had like its full release isn't there yet. It's sometime this year. But do you think maybe they have like a trailer saying like, yeah, it's coming to PlayStation 5?
I mean,
think
if
that's
they've
kinda
shown
feasible.
constant, what do you call it? Like constant support, I could definitely see that. I didn't even think about it, a title like that size, but I could. I mean, that's the thing. Xbox tried Below, it didn't work, but it is true that both of them try these small side games. It'd be
Yeah.
cool to see. I haven't played Hades though, so I don't know if it's good. Like, I don't know if like Sony is like
I've heard
chomping
good
at the
things,
bit.
but-
Well, yeah, yeah, then that'd be awesome. I think what we will see, though, well, not we will, but what I would like to see is, I would like to see Sony get away from the third-person big open world action games and do, even if it's when it's Shadow of the Colossus, that's still open world, big, third person. I'd like to see them do some stuff. I don't know if I want to see a Resistance. But I think there's a chance of those kind of titles, like a shooter.
Trilogy.
Maybe not Resistance itself, but a shooter. I don't know how big Guerrilla is now, but the head of Guerrilla is now the head of Sony's like game division thing. So it's like, is Horizon Zero Dawn the only game coming from them? Are we looking at them using the engine on the PS5 and doing a Killzone? Yeah, because they have wanted. That's the one place Sony has never beat Microsoft, is in a first-party shooter.
Yeah.
They've not even come close, and I could see them seeing Halo not being the zeitgeist it used to be. And I would like to,
There's a window.
there's a perfect
There's a
window,
window.
yeah. And I'd like to see that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see, because one of the biggest points of critique with PlayStation exclusives is that they're kind of templates.
Yeah.
Like they're all similar in one way, shape, or form. I don't think you can really say that for like God of War. I feel like that's kind of its own beast, but I understand the likes of Horizon, Spider-Man, even if I like those games. I get where people are coming from. But if you put it in first person, you kind of change up how the game feels, how it has to play, what are the abilities, what's the hook. Obviously, you could still have exploration and whatnot. But I think that would be really exciting if they did. Because I'm not a huge Killzone fan. I really liked Killzone 2, and I did enjoy Killzone 3. But
yeah, I've never been
they
in
didn't
love with it.
play that
Yeah.
well. Yeah, exactly. Never been in love with it. And I know a lot of people are, so I'm happy it's gotten so many entries. Like you have a Mercenary on the Vita. I really like that one. It looks beautiful for Vita too. But you also have Shadowfall that launched with the PS4. And so, yeah, I feel like Sony's sitting on a lot of collections that they could re-release to sort of see what the attention it would grab would be, like a Killzone trilogy, a Resistance trilogy. I know it's not a first-person shooter, but a Infamous like dual pack. I'm surprised that they've continued to sit on some of these things, unless they do plan on doing backwards compatibility. Then does it really matter? But yeah, those are games I would expect. I feel like because Insomniac keeps tweeting out photos out of friggin' nowhere, by the way, of Resistance, that probably something's coming from that franchise, whether it be a new game or a trilogy. I would imagine more along the lines of the collection. But, I would like to see more shooters from Sony as well. I agree. Because they're playing a dangerous game, because let's say Halo Infinite does come around and it does look as great as we hope it does, and it plays and feels and looks as great as we had expected. Then what does Sony do? They just have to literally like dig themselves into that third person corner even further, because now if you try to challenge what Microsoft's doing, there's constant comparisons. At least if you're there at entry, it doesn't look like you're copying.
Yeah. And I like when I look at those games, like Killzone and all that kind of stuff, Sony just doesn't seem to be able to hit that for some reason. It's like it's not artistic enough almost. It's almost like whoever handles games can handle an Eco or handle a fucking a Shadow Colossus or whatever, because they understand that. But whenever it's a shooter, they just sort of lose their shit. So I would love to see them try. But I was thinking about one thing while you were talking. I was like, people forget that these companies do have a certain number of people, and who released recently won't be releasing this fall, or maybe even next fall. And I do believe that like a lot of the hope we have of what we see, I'm actually putting a little less hope on like the titles we are expecting versus surprise titles. So, for example, I liked Graffiti. What was that called? Concrete Genie. The VR fucking that was artistic as fuck. If you did a third-person world game of you wouldn't even need VR, by the way. It did VR, but you wouldn't need it. I would be all over that. I actually am more interested in these companies. We don't like they've been quiet for 2 years. It's like, what do they have? Versus an Insomniac that's only got a certain allotted amount of time. It's like what you bring up with Obsidian. People are like, Obsidian, they're going to fucking blah, blah, blah. And you're like, dude, do you even realize like how many people work there and how long it takes to turn a game around? The same thing happens to Sony when you look at like where their studios are, what they've worked on, and when they've released recently. So that's why GT, I think, is for sure. But then you start looking at some of these other games, you're like, that's a little bit more tentative. But yeah, first person, I definitely think that's one gap Sony has. I'd like to see them try something. I don't know what, but I'd like to see them shoot.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Does that wrap up some of our predictions, or is there anything twirling around the noggin of yours?
Yeah, I just think it'd be more surprises than people expect. And artistic surprises, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I could expect some of our predictions to be wrong. Like, who knows if PlayStation is, going to show off Ratchet and Clank, we'll say. As obvious as that may be.
Also, Matty,
for some insiders.
I don't know what you think, but I think Sony has religiously let me down in their announcement events.
Yeah. State of Play has not been great.
State of Play hasn't been great.
They've kind of got the hang of just letting the game do the talking in the terms of like Ghosts and even The Last of Us Part 2.
Even their E3s as of late have been like this. They're just not. They haven't been grabbing. It's almost like it's not that they're. It's not even a blame thing. It's just they just haven't for whatever. And then, like you said, State of Play. So it's like, and this last PS3 thing, it caused more of an argument kind of talk than an excite talk. So hopefully they nail it, because I would like to actually be able to say, oh, hey, here's a cool looking thing that we can actually see versus here's some nebulous thing. And every time, Maddie, those State of Plays have been bad, by the way. Man, they're like, expect something amazing. And my idea of amazing and theirs are dramatically different lately, if that makes sense.
It's out of
Does that make sense? Yeah. I guess that's what I'm saying.
I agree. Yeah, it's out of touch. All right. Well, with that, we have some PlayStation-oriented questions from our patrons. We thank you guys so much for writing in and being a part of what we're doing here. We have Ben Jam writing in first. What game reveal would surprise you the most? I thought this was a great question to start off with, because, we just went through all the things that we could expect, maybe not expect. So let's sift through what we've got, and what would surprise you the most if you saw it actually happening?
Who did the Forgotten Realms gauntlet style games? They were like Baldur's Gate, but action. Remember those? And they were PS exclusive.
Oh, Sony Online Entertainment, I think.
Yeah.
You're talking about like Champions of
Yes,
Norath and
that's
stuff?
what I'm talking about.
Holy
that
shit, great games.
Because so right now, neither company has... Microsoft tried with Minecraft, and sorry guys, that didn't work.
It's not that good. Yeah.
It's not that it's bad, it's that it's not even Minecraft. It's just, there's no mining, no crafting. It's you just running around in blocky worlds, not dying. It's weird. So ignoring that, Sony doesn't have one.
Sad.
What if they figure out a Diablo clone style game that is exclusive for a console? So that would surprise me. If they were like Champions, but it's like an MMO, or not an MMO, some kind, but it's like you have a persistent world of some kind. That would surprise the fuck out of me, and I would be really excited for that. Something different.
With that thought in mind, what would surprise me the most in that vein, I won't like piggyback your answer. I'll come up with something else. But imagine they're just like Marvel Heroes is coming back.
Oh Jesus!
Because right, like
on me.
Good fucking Lord.
Hang on, that's on me.
Yep, no problem. I don't know what's going on with Karak right now. He seemed very concerned about a wire or something along those lines. Oh, hold on. He's talking, but we can't hear him.
It'll take a second for this to reboot.
His sound card fell out. All right, so I'll go ahead with my.
This has been.
His headphones fell out.
Proficient Friday. So the podcast I couldn't go to was the sound card. And so to fix the sound card, I've moved the sound card to the front of the computer. Unfortunately, the wire isn't very long, and when I get animated, I fucking chop my right hand down, and it flies out of the USB. And so then I have to plug it back. And it happened 4 times in my last podcast. I apologize.
Oh, my God. No, you're good. That was funny to watch.
It's just a disaster
no
lately,
offense to you.
man. Dude, it's been technical. So Champions or Norath or whatever. And then you said you didn't want to piggyback, but you had an idea, which was what? Oh, yeah, Heroes.
Marvel Heroes. Yeah. And so I guess if I were to pick one, I'll just... Yeah, I know, right? I don't blame you. If I were to select one thing that would really surprise me the most is if... I'm trying to sift through Bloodborne 2. That would really surprise me.
Do they have enough people?
I think just because of Elden King. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think it's possible because Elden King we know nothing about, but give me Bloodborne 2. Give it to me.
Sales for Bloodborne,
that would really
Matty?
surprise me.
Did it sell well enough that a 2 would replace, let's say, a new game?
I don't know, actually. I'm going to be honest with you. I know it's just widely regarded, like it's highly regarded, rather,
yeah.
But, that doesn't always do the talking for companies, which I understand. All right. We've got a series of questions from Grade 851. First one is, it seems like both the Series X and PS5 could very likely have first-party exclusive car racing sims launching at their, games at their launch or in their launch windows. How do you guys feel about this? I'm just sick of car racing games being, quote, showcases, end quote, with new system launches. Cool for people that like those games, but to me, it just seems like one less game from both companies that might be appealing to me. I think this is a great point. I never really thought of how, even though like Forza, like that's where I have most of my racing game experience, but I never thought of how easy I am to just throw it away during like a reveal just because you think to yourself, like, it usually does come around the reveal of a console. Look how shiny the car can be. Look at the detail. Look what we're able to accomplish. Like we just saw Grid 5, for example. Like it's hard to escape a new generation without talking about like the newest racing game and how it's changing. But for some people who aren't deeply intertwined with what's happening in the racing genre, it may be hard to see what exactly is even changing. So as someone who you play a lot of racing games, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about this? Because you definitely would have more to say than I.
I would say deal with it. I don't like...
Great Ape,
dude, I don't like Final Fantasy MMOs, but people are excited about them. They don't take away my time by being shown. So, like, what's that got... I mean, they'll be shown. Do I care? I don't know. Forza... What did we play last? Forza 4? Horizon?
Yeah, I think Horizon
4.
Yeah.
But Horizon 4 being shown doesn't mean anything to me if I like it or don't like it or whatever. Like, to me, that's a very I want the world delivered to me kind of style. And I know Grape Ape, I talked to him multiple times. He's in my Discord too. He's not that way. I'm just saying that kind of question of like, I don't like it, so why is it being shown? How do you answer that? I have to deal with that all the time.
You're taking the dad approach here. You could be better than that.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, Grape Ape, man. But he's actually not like that. So I sort of just, it's like what his question might have been along the lines of is, what would you like to see replacing racing as the premiere for a console?
Yeah, or how do you make racing games more intriguing so they don't
but ignoring
look like a
racing
showcase? That's how I interpreted it.
I think you and I've lived through, so we talked about this, we've lived through mascots. That was the big thing. Remember when mascots were big? Every new console, right?
Yeah, that was like
first-person shooters. Every new console.
Even PS4 tried that.
Dude.
Yeah,
no, I know.
I forgot about that.
Yes, let's pretend it never existed.
Okay. Let's go back to how I was.
But yeah, so I think it changes all the time, and racing right now is a thing. I think he's right on. He didn't say it, but I think we could all agree that racing's hard to. You see GT or a Forza, and you're like, damn, can it get better? Which is sort of what you were indicating. Like, where are we at now? What do we? How do you show the improvement? That's where I think first-person shooters and stuff. There is improvement to be made. Platformers, there's definitely improvement to be made. So yeah, let's hope we see more of those. But if I see another Forza, I'm not going to cry because they're fun. It's a weird
Number
weird
2
thought.
from Great Ape. Oh, sorry.
No, I mean, it's a weird thought. I get where he's coming from, but it's like at the same time, there's so many games that like one doesn't take anything from another to me, I guess.
Gotcha. Number 2 from Great Ape. Do you guys have any soundtracks from games that really stick with you afterwards? 2 for me are the title menu music from Far Cry 5 and the pause music from GTA 4, The Lost and the Damned. By the way, I played The Lost and the Damned recently, and it was pretty awesome, even for being 10 years old.
Those would be my 2. Matter of fact, yeah, I'm pretty sure he and I, that's pretty much, I think, where we did our back and forth was about Far Cry 5, the title. Dude, it shit's pure awesome. That and Advent Rising, I think. So I would agree with those on his.
All right, for me, for sure, Persona. And then it depends. Like, for example, sports games sometimes just have, because it's real music. I shouldn't say real music. That's a horrible term. But like actual
recognizable licensed music.
What is the? Yeah. I should say that
lyric.
More so, yeah. It's hard to put into words because I'm the one who advocates like game music is real, because you have stuff like Persona, which they put in lyrics, they have symbolism and all that shit. So I do apologize the way I worded that, but yeah, man, like. One song I've been grinding lately is Blue Side by Rooney, and it was on Tiger Woods 04, and I was just like, man, as a kid, like this was, when that song came on in the menu, you're like, yep, I just got to sit and listen to it because I really like it. But yeah, when it comes to actual game music, it's got to be something, like I define game music that sticks with me is usually stuff I can listen to in the background while doing something.
That's not the game.
So Persona has
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like Persona has a lot of instrumentals that you can just study to, read to, work to. So that's probably the one that really sticks with me the most because I literally take that with me. But music always sticks with me. I just have that like sponge for it. It doesn't get retained fully, but it sticks.
Are you the guy
for a
that's
while.
like listening to WWE 2000, 2K 2000 and is like, whatever the Disturbed song is? Because I will. Yeah. I'll put it on. I'll be like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's why I cover sound in games, because I think it brings those moments to like, it defines the moment. It really does. Like, I don't think if you see in Persona 5, your protagonist walk through the door for the millionth fucking time and put his hands in his pockets for the millionth fucking time. I think it's just like, God, really? But like you hear Beneath the Mask play like a do, 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 do. And you're like, oh shit. Like this has a mood to it now. And when it's raining, it changes. I just think that type of stuff really defines experiences.
I can walk into a room and chant the Halo menu, and most likely somebody in there will know exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
It matters.
All right, number 3 and the last question, that is from Grade 851. Have you guys checked out the demo for the System Shock remake? Never played the original, but looking forward to messing around with the demo. That, ironically enough, is listed on Steam as, quote, System Shock Remastered Demo, end quote, but isn't actually a remake. If only someone would do a video explaining differences between remakes and remasters. Sorry, Maddie, I couldn't help myself with how they titled it. Seriously, though, is this Night Dive Studios project affected by the recent acquisition of the IP by Tencent, or was that for System Shock 3 by a different developer? I'm confused. Thanks, guys. Peace out.
Different. They are different.
Yeah. Yep. All right. There you go. There's your answer. Crazy Herb is up next. Do you think they will reveal the console design? If they don't, do you think that would hurt the presentation at all?
Why are you reading it like that?
I don't know.
Crazy. Grape Ape is like, deal with it. What kind of answer is that? And then you're like, my name is Grape Ape.
I was just trying to read it like I was just trying to read it in like a nasally voice just to like change it up because I realized like we cranked on Great Ape. Now everyone below this list is getting a new voice because
there we go.
We treat everyone equally
there we
here. Crazy Herb wants us to know if they're going to reveal the console designs, and let's say they choose not to. Does it hurt the actual system reveal itself or the game presentation? I don't think it does. I think more people can carry a conversation about a game than a piece of hardware and how it looks. But I do think it would be very weird if it was missing.
You think
I
so?
will say that.
Especially because Xbox has shown for a while now. It's probably time.
Yeah, I feel like it's time. Yeah, that to me makes the most sense. Would you agree, or would you just? I don't think it would hurt it, but I just think it would be weird.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be weird. It's probably time, unless they're having an issue with the form factor, and like Microsoft did pretty clearly state they did. It may just look weird, and they may be sort of hedging on, how to get it to look as acceptable as possible. I agree with you, though. It'd be weird.
Oh, I was going to start someone's name. Sorry. What were you saying?
I said I'd agree it would be weird to not show it.
Oh, yes. Yes, we are in unison there, my friend. Revlin, that's what I was trying to do earlier. I do not believe that they will show the price of the PS5, but what are you thinking the price will be? Also, what would be a nice random PS5 exclusive that you would like to see, such as Persona 6, One Can Dream, God of War 2, New Uncharted, etc. Hope you both have a great weekend. Well, you too, Revlin. Thank you. It is pouring right now. Wow.
At your place?
Anyway,
it's so fucking hot here. It's 91.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Let's
Dude,
switch.
You can like see the
because yours
sweat.
is humid,
look
right?
Look at my knuckles, like they're just red. Yeah, like I am hot. Like I'm not. Like I also forgot deodorant today, so I smell like fucking shit too. Like that's the worst part of it all. Yeah.
And when you can smell it,
I'm not like that either.
Bothers you, then it's even if nobody's around.
Imagine being in here.
Well, yeah, but it's just like then it becomes so noticeable. She's just like, oh my god, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway,
all right.
What do we think the price will be? Man, dude, I'm still so up in the air on price.
What would be your guess? I gave mine earlier, so if you had to just shoot one out there.
If either are over 500, if either are over 400, they're in deep shit.
400.
COVID, like I said, has ruined the economy. 400 is deep shit, but I just don't see how they can not go above that. So I would say 450. I would say 450 allows them to sort of pretend, maybe throw a game in. Because that's another thing I think we will see, Maddie. Whether it's another controller or whether it's free year of Xbox Live or PS, I actually do feel that these consoles will be sold to us with a lot more other things than we have got in the past to get us to purchase them.
Gotcha.
But 450 would be mine.
Yeah. If they do certain, I think just options are kind of the path here. Like if they do an accessories package, which comes like $500, but you can just get the controller with the system. Like even PlayStation 4 came with like a little earpiece and stuff. Like leave that out, like cut the cost wherever you can and just sell like multiple editions. I know that's like, I made a whole video on Colin's Last Stand about editions and how they need more clear communication, but I think it's easier with hardware because it's a bigger investment, and B, it's usually has to be very clear and decisive. Like in games, you're like, this is the special edition. Well, what's different between that definitive edition and this edition and that edition? It just ultimate, whatever. It's all over the place. At least with consoles, I feel like You're not going to get these crazy buzzwords to try to make it sound like something it's not. So I think that's the path. As for a random PS5 exclusive that we would like to see, I'm with you on Persona 6. I think that would be great. There's been rumors about that, but just like grain of salt rumors, nothing substantial.
I mean, I would say for me, God of War 2 would be, and especially because when I reached out to Corey, he was ready to do an interview because they weren't doing anything, and he was like, "Oops, we are doing stuff. We can't do the meeting anymore." And so it was like, that's odd. So I would say, I just don't see timing wise, but I would say that's what I'd want to see. God of War.
Okay. All right. Let's take a look at our next question. This one comes from Big Bad Wolf Hish. Do you think that the PS5 will have something akin to the PS4 Pro, or do you think it'll be good enough at launch to where it won't need a newer version down the line? Now, you said that you think this is the last console, so what do you make of this question, my friend?
Yeah, I should say last series of consoles, at least from, probably together, depending on how powerful they are. Do I think that there will be a Pro version?
I think it would be smart if the consoles were upgradable, but I think that ship has sailed, yeah?
Dude, man, I don't know, man. Yeah, probably. I mean, it depends on TVs. So TV is the biggest thing. 4K is why we got the Pros. It honestly is. But I don't see a lot of people going to 8K or 16K. They don't seem to they don't seem to like have the same, explosive growth. So what else do you improve? And you don't want to, if Sony's into big generations. See, that's another thing. Sony's like, we're into generations. Here's a PS4 Pro. I don't know. I hope not. I'll just say I hope not.
I hope not as well.
Right?
Half steps kind of suck.
They do. They do. Yeah. There's no way around it.
Dino says, "Hey, Matty and Karak, love what you guys do. Keep up the good work." Thank you, Dino. They always say Xbox has no games. Obviously, they have Halo, Gears, and Forza, but that's not enough. So what sort of games would you like to see from Xbox's new studios? I just want a big AAA narrative-based game like Uncharted or The Last of Us exclusive for Xbox. Is that too much to ask for? Cheers. Cheers to you as well, Dino. Thank you for the kind words. I like the idea of Xbox, and I know I'm a little biased here, but I like the idea of them, and based off their acquisitions, it seems like this is the case, but I love the idea of them going back to how they were during the original Xbox launch, like RPGs, just straight up RPGs. Like you had Fable, KOTOR, Jade Empire. It just seemed like most big games on there were RPGs of some kind. You saw a little bit of that, flicker of life, like the Lost Odyssey. You saw that on the 360. I think that was like the best Xbox when they were just playing around with RPGs. And now you've acquired Obsidian. Now you've acquired In Exile, like two tried and true, strictly RPG developers. To me, that just I feel like that's where I'd want them to go. I don't know if AAA narrative-based games like Uncharted. Because they tried to supplement that with Tomb Raider. That's what they said. Like, Tomb Raider is going to be our Uncharted. And that didn't work out, even though the game was excellent.
Quantum Break was technically their attempt as well, yeah.
I just don't think it clicks as well. It's kind of like how you said Sony loses their mind with shooters. I don't think this style of game syncs with Xbox because they're trying to copycat. They're not just making something.
Well, that's why I don't actually have it's not that I don't have an answer for this, but I don't. First of all, I don't agree that they don't have enough. They've got games like whether it be Cuphead or Ori, where I think that they do in tremendous things. Ori alone is easily going to be on like the top 10 games of the year for me already. So like, you have stuff like that.
Yeah, Ori was great.
Yeah. So they've tried with ReCore. They tried with Quantum Break. They've tried Zombies with State of Decay 2. And they've seen weird success that no other company's seen, like games that are just sort of ho-hum, but they do fucking... Well, Sea of Thieves, by the way, which is extraordinarily successful. So I actually... like you said, I don't want them to copy. I don't want those things. I don't even want them from Sony. We just sat here and spent how long talking about first-person shooters because we didn't want Sony to do that. So I don't want Sony to not do it, and fucking Microsoft. Like that makes no sense. So to me, I am just open to being surprised. Fable would be great, and we all know, that's coming. But other than that, I'm okay with them trying some weird shit. And they also got Hellblades guys, and they've got We Happy Fuse guys. They've got all these weird companies. I don't care what they do. I just will play them. I don't care about what the zeitgeist feels. And, because you and I lived...
You don't want to put them in a box.
No, and remember... Well, you don't remember. But I had to grow up with consoles where it was like I had to have one racer, one fighter, and one platformer. It was the most revolting fucking boxed-in feeling you ever got. Yeah. It was like Sega had to have Sega Rally, Virtual Fighter. You knew, because that's what was required. Sonic, Sega Rally, Virtual Fighter. Mario, blah, 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 blah. Like, it was the thing. To me, let them do whatever, man. And speaking of that, think about this. Is there any AAA last year? AAA. Huge AAA. That really like lit you on fire compared to, let's say, some, not so AAA game. Because I start looking at this and think the AAA is really just for people to talk. And I don't mean AAA. I just mean the big blockbuster is there and it's cool, but it's all the other stuff that happens in between that I find myself enjoying more.
I agree completely, because I think those games, how do I start? I feel like inherently when it comes to AAA, that sets the standard that we are giving you a gigantic budget. That means more room for cool things to do, but that also means more room for error. And I feel like what you start to see with a lot of AAA games, like we'll take Final Fantasy VII Remake. I really like the game, but you see it trying to do a lot of things at once. And it just ends up being like decent at all of them. Where with a limited budget, there's a focus. And that's why I talked about how in my review for, we'll talk about Plague Tale.
I knew you were going to mention Plague Tale. Like, that's what I was thinking too.
You have to, because that game was that and Vampire are two of the best directed games of this gen. I stand by that. And I'm emphasizing direction because they clearly had a sum of money and they put it in the perfect spot for both those games. Just a Plague Tale had just the right amount of pacing of like, this is going to be a fast level, this is going to be slow, this is going to be creepy, and without overstaying its welcome. Vampire was like, how do we make the most interesting conversation system that we've seen in an RPG in a long while? And they went all in on that. Voice act everyone, lots of options, lots of dialogue, clues, relationships, choice and consequence. They went all in on that. The combat takes a hit because of it. I don't ignore that. But I think those are two of the best directed games. And so that's why I feel... I agree with you that AAA is kind of like, it sits there as a bar, but I don't know if you really want to reach that. Like, that's why I'm excited to see, for example, what Obsidian does as a AAA developer. But I feel like the reason New Vegas was good, the reason The Outer Worlds is good, is because they had limitations. Like, The Outer Worlds was great because it wasn't like this 50, 60-hour game. I think a lot more of its flaws would have exploded in your face. Because it's more of a self-contained 30-hour game, you get to just enjoy what's there and move on at the right time. And I think it's up to a company to realize that. I don't know if you can make a 10-hour game outside of Call of Duty and call it AAA. I can't think of many off the top of my head.
Not only that, but...
Nintendo's one. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think Nintendo's one where they take their flagship IP and you, outside of Pokemon, by the way, Sword and Shield, you could see the investment of money, like Breath of the Wild with Zelda.
I was going to ask you, because I can't remember and you didn't bring it up, Greedfall.
That's
so
another one.
I think Greedfall probably falls technically less than Vampire and Plague Tale for various reasons. Though I loved Greedfall, I do think that is a little on the jankier side than those. But I love AAAs for what they are. I love indies for what they are, and AAs. But in the end, I honestly also think the tags mean very little, other than really how often you get them. AAA, you're not going to get a bunch of times because those budgets are huge and they're every 3 years or whatever. And this indie might be Ori, and then Ori 2 years later, Cuphead 2 years later. So
it's funny because Ori took so long.
Except Ori did. Yeah. Admittedly. But I think that these companies, I don't care to get into the conversation, of like what they have to match, because to me, Sony doesn't have a match for Xbox Game Pass. Do I want them to? I would love for them to pick up PSN, and they seem to be doing so. However, what they have is they have these big third person whatevers. That's what they're known for. They're only every other year, though. I have 12 months of time where I'm playing games. So guess where most of my game is being played? Not there. However, we may be talking about their games when we talk about classics. I've spent more time, though, in State of Decay, which is a $20 game, versus, what was the game? Days Gone, which was their blockbuster that really didn't sort of work. So
I guess it's also targeting an audience. I think State of Decay hits the right group because it's
survival,
like, it's a budget title.
Yeah.
You can play with your friends where you might have that feeling of like, wow, I got a great deal here. Whereas not everyone wants a State of Decay or owns an Xbox to play a State of Decay. And I'm not saying that's the only example or it's a bad example, but maybe that like Days Gone would serve that purpose of the State of Decay experience, but on, for some people, another level. And higher graphical fidelity, an actual story.
And it may, but I think it also proves that Sony is nowhere near bulletproof, because that game came in like a hot, giant turd. And it's probably one of their only...
A lot of people think it's a hidden gem, but
now...
I don't agree
No,
with that.
I don't. And I don't know of anybody... and I mean legitimately anybody, not being a smartass at all, because that's been improved hugely. But day and date, Maddie, if you would talk to anybody who thought that was a hidden gem day and date, I would have to question a lot of what was going on. I seriously question
that game was
broken. So, but yeah, it's a cool question. But I'm excited to see the different stuff, which is sort of what we talked about with the PS5 announcement instead.
I agree. 2 questions left. One is from Natural Calamity. Question 7, he says, last question, I swear. But Natural, I apologize for not using all of your questions. As I said in the beginning of the episode, we originally weren't planning on doing an episode this week and just putting out a spoiler cast, but this was significant, so we had to get these questions around last minute. And you guys really stepped up to the plate. We had 8 great questions, so yeah, really awesome of you guys. So we appreciate you being here for us as we move things around. Natural Calamity writes in saying, Maddie, how does it feel to have your precious Vita officially killed off in The Last of Us gameplay? To have Sony spit in your face, acknowledge the death of your favorite console, and rip out your heart. Wow, that's passionately written too. It's almost like he enjoyed it. Yeah, I think my tweet on it kind of said it all. I was just like, what the fuck is this? I was like, what are they trying to, what is Naughty Dog trying to accomplish?
It was weird.
By putting a Vita in the hands of someone and having them get fucking killed. I was just like, they're symbolizing the death of the Vita there. I that might be the most narratively interesting thing that could happen that whole game, but that clip there, I was like, what? I couldn't believe it, man. It was a good joke. It was a good move. I think it gave the game some positive PR, if you will, that it desperately needed. Fortunately, Sony confirmed a while ago that the Vita was dead, so I've already done my mourning. Natural Calamity, I'm okay.
And it's not dead, right?
Right,
there's a homebrew, I'm assuming, right? Or is there not a homebrew?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't. Okay. I don't plan on doing that with my Vita, but I just, it's they're expensive now. The Vita and the PlayStation TV, the Vita TV or whatever it's called, they're expensive now because
was that before the Vita? Oh,
yeah. PSP was before the Vita. PSP's not that expensive, but the Vita is getting there because I think it was so niche that it's just, especially its games. I have one game that I bought at PAX for $40 because I knew for a fact it was a good deal because I went online and it's $80-$90 sealed. Oh, wow. And it's just people just like collecting Vita games. So it's pretty cool to have that. Last question comes from Just Lee Martin. What's Sony got to do to win the console war? He puts that in quotes. Microsoft is trying to win, it seems, via backwards compatibility. Sony relying on their exclusives, or have they got more? I mean, if they announce God of War or a remake of number 1, I'll definitely be buying. So what do they got to do? I mean, I feel like they both just need to rest in their strengths. Microsoft is backwards compatibility. Whether you're buying the Series X or you're playing on Xbox One, you can play Halo Infinite. I think that consumer-friendly approach has benefited Microsoft and will continue to do so. But with Sony, they have this pompous aura around their company where I feel like they should just rely fully on their exclusives. But what do you think?
I would agree, and I also don't know their budgets now. So, like, Microsoft might be able to win because of Game Pass and the amount of money they're making on Game Pass. Like, win, if we mean win as in selling the most consoles, Microsoft already won because they'll just sell their next console and say it's backwards compatible with the other one. And so, what's the difference?
And then,
it's this weird discussion, but yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, their strengths, and I think their strengths will change. Sony is not resting on their laurels when it comes to PSN Now. Is that what it's called? Now?
Oh, PlayStation Now, yeah. I hope
there has been some changes, which I wasn't even aware of, but I mentioned it in our podcast, and there were some people going, hey, they've actually done this and this and this. So they're not dumb, right? They'll look at that. Crossplay, Sony has really started to say it's acceptable, where Microsoft was like, sure. And everybody was like, what the fuck is going on with Sony? Like, so they're both making changes, and I think we'll see a little bit of a switch. And then, there'll be surprises, man. Like, bring up Nintendo in this discussion. Fucking systems, or what's a Switch, Matty? What's a not new, not on eBay? What's a normal Switch cost?
I thought it was
$199,
$350. Now. I thought you were talking about at launch.
No, I mean,
I don't know.
Okay.
Actually, I've never looked.
I'm just saying,
I've never looked. To be honest,
at some point, they're also in the weird part of the conversation as well, even if it's as a side console. But then I know a lot of people who that's their primary console. So it's like, what's winning?
The ports keep coming in. It makes sense.
Cell phones. I have a tablet that now plays 90% of console games, 360 and prior. Some
because you stream it.
No, legitimately has a massive video card in it, and it's a gaming tablet. And I was sitting there thinking, is this competition? Because, dude, there's full Android games that are amazing. It's like, what's the competition is everywhere.
It's that Apple Arcade.
Yeah.
Apparently that has some good stuff.
I didn't even know that, but one of my friends was like, dude, do you realize how amazing Apple Arcade is? So you've got that. You've got Stream.
I've heard
you've got Cloud. So winning what? Like, I mean...
Yeah, you just, at this point, gaming's so big, you just want them all to succeed, really. I think would be the better way to put it.
And get them, yeah, I mean, and get EA out of there with their fucking every year NFL would be nice. Even though I heard they just re-upped, I guess, till 2025. Did you?
Wouldn't shock me.
Do you buy NHL?
I haven't heard that.
Do they do an NHL?
I've been on a little NHL boycott. Interesting. For me, like, there's been it's just been so many years of the same shit that
it's just a roster right now, technically.
Yeah, it really feels that way. They'll do modes like they did a 3v3 street mode, and at first that caught my ear because I thought of like FIFA Street and how they had like a mode one time where you could like create your own FIFA player, and they would have like
that's cool.
Kind of FIFA Street in the main FIFA game. I was like, oh, that sounds great. But I just also in comparison, I know comparison's like your worst enemy in any type of creative space, but like when it's all under the EA brand and you look at NHL, you look at Madden, when it was getting like a story mode, you look at the sports games and how they all make strides, and then NHL just like I think it was like 2017 or 18, it still looked fucking shitty. Like I don't know how else to put it, but like the character models did not look anything like their NHL player counterparts. Not even close. Like you had to imagine, like, oh, that's kind of there. Eventually I was like, I'm just fucking sinking my money into something that's just not like they're just not going to do more because they don't have to do more. So even if I'm like one less person, I'm just like, you know what, I'm good, man.
Damn, that's
good, and I'll just wait.
Shitter. It's a shitter because like to me, UFC is the same way. I'm a UFC fan. UFC 3 was terrible. If 4 comes out, there's no chance I'm getting it. You technically have sort of treated NHL the same way, even though they are releasing new ones, in that you're just not getting them. And it's like there's nowhere to go. There's quite literally nowhere to go to get a new. I guess we could get NBA. They had the 3-on-3 for Switch, and well, I can't remember that game. It came out.
Oh, Playgrounds.
Yeah, Playgrounds.
See, that type of stuff is cool. I liked Playgrounds. I don't like the character models. I think they look
the big-headed,
goofy. Yeah, they look goofy. because that's why I liked like NBA Street, because it felt real, but they had like this
urban,
quirky,
strange
gotcha. Gameplay that, like where you were like you would do like tricks, and your character would like spin on his head.
Oh, I know the game you're talking about now. Okay, yeah,
and just same thing with FIFA Street. Like you'll leap off the wall and like kick the ball with you, and like go by a defender. That type of stuff, just like I said, there aren't those games nowadays that blend those two. That's how some people get into sports.
It's very
Not
much
because
so.
I want to run the base path and beat the shit out of people when I run by them, but just because it's like, oh wow, this sport can be fun. Like I've been there where you're just like, sports are dumb.
Mega Baseball
cares
is the one
about
I'm
sports?
playing right now. The Mega Baseball series.
Really?
Yeah,
How is
Freddie
that?
Prinze Jr. got me into it. He's the actor, because he kept tweeting about it, and I followed him. I was like, fuck it, I'll check it. Dude, it's awesome. And they just released, they just released number 3. They're the big roided looking, but it's baseball, but it's got some goofy stuff. It's also got a couple modes, home run, a couple others. And you're absolutely right. In fact, I would say there's a high chance people will get into sports more due to those than serious, because if they're getting into sports, serious confuses them. It only makes logistic sense.
Not only that, but go watch the real thing.
Well, yeah, that too. But it's like the complexity of UFC and all the buttons. People are like, what? But if you get a fighter, like, they're all, oh, okay, well, I can do, a wrestling game or whatever. They're like, hey, this is pretty easy to get into. But yeah, dude, you should check it out. If you're at all even like interested in goofy sports, the Mega Baseball series is actually, I wish they do it. Remember 360 had Backyard? Do you remember the series? Backyard football, backyard baseball. I don't know if they had before we end, this reminds me, full circle. I saw that you didn't like this, and I'm mad about it, and I gotta fucking put you on point. You didn't seem happy about the wrestling game. You did not seem happy about what looked to me like a fucking blast. So what do you think?
It's just because I watched gameplay of WWE All-Stars, which was on like the 360. This looks like a step forward. Like you could see them, I think like an alligator came in the ring at one point. And I'm just like, okay, like that's cool, man. Like I don't care. It's not the HD collection.
Right.
I don't know. I didn't think much of it. That's one I saw, and I was thinking, if this is crazy enough and arcadey enough and wild enough, then yeah, I'm.
But you need it to be wild, is what you're saying. No middle.
If you're gonna have people looking like that, and you're having alligators jumping and like bite the ass of a wrestler, yeah, like go all the way. That's what I'm saying. Give me power ups. Give me crazy slams that like rattle
the cage
the
or
arena.
Dude. I hope. We'll see.
Apparently, I think I read that game has like arena wide moves where you could like come in from the crowd and like do something.
Oh hell
crazy.
yeah!
I think
hell
I read
yeah!
that.
I hope so.
So, I'm interested.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I didn't say anything on it just because like. It didn't excite me, but it's because I need to know more.
All right.
And who knows when that is. I'm interested to see more so because it's like, okay, they actually are not going to do a WWE game this year. They're like, this is what we're going with. And I thought, okay, well, let's take a peek. Let's see how it goes.
All right. Don't let me down, Matty. You don't like it. I don't know how I'm going to.
Hey, I'm going to try my best to like it. Why were you so hyped about it, though?
Dude,
you were like,
because I'm a Fire Pro Wrestling fan.
Hell yeah.
Sega Saturn, I translated
the
400 pages of Japanese into English so I could play the Sega Saturn version of Fire Pro Wrestling.
Wasn't that ported, or is that
it's ported
isn't
now?
That new
on I've got the PC version,
gotcha.
yeah, but it was not at the time.
Gotcha.
I still have a green folder this big, and every menu you had to go like 1, 2, 3. Okay, it must be this one, and then turn and go. Suplex number 1. Fuck, dude. Wow. I love the goofy.
That's wild.
WWE power. What was it? There was an arcade game where you could like it. As a power arcade game, wrestling goofy wrestlers. I'm such a fan, and I hate the current wrestling games. I despise them. So to me, this is, and I loved Avatar stuff. By the way, I admit, I bought some of those Avatar games on the 360 that came out. Avatar Motorbike Race.
Oh, really?
And I had a good time. So fuck off.
Uh-oh.
Hold it against me, whatever.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was our last question of the evening or afternoon or morning, wherever and whenever you are listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Next week, unless some big news pops up, Karak and I will be taking off, and it'll still be me here, but it'll be older Matty. We'll still have patron questions answered. We will still have a whole podcast, but it won't be like on a current news topic. So do look forward to that. It's a Persona 5 focused show. And with that, Karak, anything you'd like to say to close out the show?
We need a hashtag.
We do need a hashtag. Cool surprises.
Cool surprises. Let's do it.
All right. Hashtag cool surprises. You got this deep to the absolute last minute of the show. We appreciate hearing from you guys. Hopefully some of our predictions are on point. We shall see. And with that, we will catch you guys next time. Peace out.